podcast, Eye for Talent, the show where we have an eye for talent. I'm your host, Dylan, aka DJ Cereal Sauce. I'm a YouTube content creator, producer, editor. What else do I do? I don't really Twitch stream anymore because that shit got really tedious and annoying, so I stopped doing it. And it doesn't matter. This isn't about me. This is about my guest. Back for the second time. You guys might be able to see a pattern here that I'm just kind of bringing people back because I'm unoriginal and can't find new people. This is Spookyshine, aka Spooky. He's also a Twitch streamer. He also used to make TikToks and to stop doing that because, again, why fucking bother? But he also does a lot of cool art stuff. So if you guys have ever seen it, he does cool art stuff. And the last time we were here, we were talking about a bunch of mental health stuff that ultimately devolved into, I don't know what I could colloquially understand as a load of bullshit and nothing of substance really, except that it was entertaining, which I guess is the whole point.
We were shooting the shit.
Yeah, literally, exactly. So that's kind of just what we're back here for today. So there isn't really any set theme in play. But any of you guys who are familiar with Spooky already, even before the episode released, you'll know that I don't know, me and him have a brain that clicks a lot for really no reason. It just kind of happens. And I think actually the last important thing about this is that you are the primary driving factor that actually encouraged me to finally go and get my passport documents. It wasn't traveling to a country whose language I had been studying for 3 years. No, it was to maybe open up the doors and have the opportunity to talk to this guy. So I don't think that is an applicable thing you can add to a resume by any means, but
I'll take it.
It's a power move.
Encouragement is encouragement, man. I tell a lot of people that too, though. It's what is stopping you from doing just something you should do? Ultimately, that's all it could be, dude. Somebody random who could just tell you do it, right? Who I can't even remember his name. The person who literally lives his life through memes can't remember the fucking. Just do it. What's his name? It's driving me nuts already.
I don't even remember his name.
It doesn't matter. We know the meme, the concept of it.
Yeah, we know. Yeah.
Live your dreams. Enjoy your life. That's it, right? Nothing stops you. But no, ironically enough, too, if you think about it, we kind of did just shoot the shit last time we talked. But, a lot has happened between now. It's been is it been a year? I feel like it's been longer than a year now, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. You know what? Here's what I can do. I can go to Spotify and I can go look at the date that it was published.
Exactly.
Because it had to have been within a few weeks of that at least. So if I look here. Where is it?
It can't have been long.
It's a little over a year. July 6th was when the episode uploaded. So
oh shit, and we did it during the summer too. That's so funny, eh?
Yeah, it's always most people get a minimum of a year, which is fine because the people who have reached out to show up again came before you, and it's so by extension it's been a year for them. Some people it's maybe even been 2 years, as ridiculous as that sounds.
True, but I did watch your last stuff and about how you've been cursed with trying to find new people anyways, so maybe you're just destined to re-interview similar vibes a second time around. You weren't finished with the first time around.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it's like you said, a lot can happen in a year, and a lot often does happen in a year with a lot of the people that I talk with, because a lot of, if the whole point is to interview people on stuff that they have done in the past or things that they are currently doing in, the creative industry, making stuff on the internet, making art, anything creative in that capacity, it's you're gonna if you're a person who cares enough about it, a lot's gonna happen over a year, whether it be new opportunities that open up, new techniques that were learned, new blah whatever. So it's
yeah, exactly. Which is funny because ironically, when you and I discussed about this, I said I was gonna pick your brain to a couple things. And that's one of the things that I have actually written down to talk with you about.
One of the two things you wrote down.
No, actually, you would be probably pretty proud of me because, like I said, I am not a person who preps, right? Generally speaking, I'm also not really good with interviews. I'm a natural person in the sense of things that are staged don't come out of me naturally or normally. It's hard for me to stage
If it's staged,
things.
It sounds staged.
Yeah, and it's I get nervous. Am I saying stuff right? This and that, right? I like my casual talks because for some reason, just everything comes out and just feels better. It just doesn't feel like I have to hype myself up or that I should be nervous about something. It's usually just for me, I just talk with people and it just kind of comes out. The conversation just flows,
Yeah.
But for once, I actually was I got some legitimate questions that I want to fucking ask you that I thought was pretty good because you and I are both designated yappers. That's what we do, and we just seem to click with that kind of stuff. Which is, and that's where ironically it came into is one of the first notes that I came in when I was doing research on you, by the way, because, I actually did my fucking work this time. Was literally when we talked the first time about this, about how more or less in personality wise, I've realized that you and me both dabble in a little bit of everything. And, the whole, not really like a jack of all trades, but I've realized as not only as creatives, as, because you deal with music, games, you do this, like stuff like this, right? I do more art. Like I'm also into the music side of things, that kind of thing. We've both done content creation. One of the things that I was thinking of is that, what was that drive? Like what pulls you to want to do that kind of stuff? You know what I mean? Like dabble in something that interests you. Is it the passion behind it? Is it the curiosity of finding something new? Because, obviously you've chatted with enough people through different, avenues of all this stuff and other, episodes. So what ultimately drove you to do this, right? And find out those curiosities and dabble in a little bit of everything as a whole.
I mean, typically, I pull inspiration from just like a lot of different things all the time. Like it can be starting from something as small as like anytime I like want to make a new song in like in a style that I don't normally make, I usually will pull inspiration from like a YouTube content creator who I enjoy who also makes music. So like there's it I can't really get into the minutia of it per se, but like there will be certain techniques that will be used, the way that he produces certain types of music, that when I go and make music, I will kind of subconsciously take that and incorporate that into my own thing.
You fixate.
Yeah, fixation is a part of it. It's usually just like there are, like music is a really good example of this kind of thing because it's such a visceral experience for some people, like myself included, where certain things that happen in music give me a very visceral response in a good way, and so I want to like recapture that, and so and sometimes that can be like in the same vein as like using this technique that this person used in a similar beat or whatever. Like I guess the most in depth I can really get down into it is my friend who plays the guitar a little bit. He sent me a sample of something that he made that he was playing just strict triplet notes, but to me it kind of sounded like the song was actually in a 3/4 time signature as opposed to 4/4. So I was like, fuck it, I've never made a 3/4 song before, so let me go and make a 3/4 song with this. And then I remembered a video from that producer who made the only video that he has, I think, of him making anything in 3/4. There was a technique that he used where he just put like guitar stabs essentially on like on a snare hit, and so I just did that too. So it can be something as small as that, and then it can get as large as my just general love for certain types of media and feeling like I've always had like an active imagination as a kid, and I've had a very active drive to try and actualize those things in some way or another. And so sometimes something will come up and I'll be like, hold on. This is something I want to see if I can try and dabble in. Like the most recent example is I've been watching a lot of clips from Pirate Software on TikTok, on YouTube, on Instagram, and whatever.
Oh, I've seen him everywhere.
Yeah, he's all over the fucking place. And like, I saw a video from him that was like, he has a website that basically just helps give people resources and gives people inspiration for just making a game. He's like, you don't need to be good at music. You don't need to be good at art. You don't need to be good at animation. You don't need to be good at any of these things because here are examples that prove that fact, right? And then one day, and I was like, oh, it'd be kind of cool if I learned like Sprite or something because a guy on Twitter that I like, he makes pixel art VTuber models. He's really cool. Shout out Michael Laymore, if that's how you pronounce his name. He's really, really fucking awesome at what he does. So I was like, maybe I'll learn Sprite and do that kind of thing. And then I got a little overwhelmed with trying to do that. So I scaled it back, but not really. This is going to be weird. My friend moved like a year and a half ago. We helped him move. But in doing so and helping him move everything out of his old apartment, we were very intimately aware of what his old apartment looked like. And so we went into the Roblox creator and we made his old apartment in Roblox and added like mini games to it, added music, added sound effects, added like things that you can do, collectibles you can find, objectives you can complete, stuff you can unlock, all this shit. And so that was like, I don't think I'm going to get into like map making or character design or anything. Because really, all I did was find assets and find creative places to put them and make a couple things out of like little simple geometric cubes. And my friend did a lot of like the hard coding to make stuff work as it's supposed to. But it's still the basic premise of like, oh, I had this inspiration to maybe delve into some kind of game creation of some kind. And this
Yeah,
was a
well,
this
and
was
bring
a,
it to light.
yeah, and so this was kind of just like a small outlet to let that happen, essentially. So it's usually just that there's like a strong feeling that I have associated with something: music, making
Yeah.
a game, making a video, being able to like empower people with my words, get people to care about like issues surrounding fucking who knows what, anything like that. And then I just, depending on how easily the tools are accessible to me, and if I have an actual vision in place for how to enact those things, then I just go and try it because, like, why not? You know?
Yeah, what do you got to lose?
Yeah,
right?
literally. The only thing
Yeah.
I have to lose is like $20, if that, and that's
Yeah.
if I have to.
Maybe your own sanity if you've done some things like I've done.
Yeah, like I don't think I've quite gotten.
No,
to that
I like
level
I,
yet, but
I think I understand what you mean by that too, because it's this actually similar process with me too, right? It's you get like a certain like feeling from like being able to create something, or like you get that vision, you know what I mean, and you want to, whether if it's inspiring you or it burns like that fire, that passion that you have for something, and you want to be able to replicate that and produce that onto other people as well. Because I get that with all kinds of stuff all the time too, where it's like when I see that, especially with why I got so heavily into video editing since last time, obviously, you and I talked, because I think that was around the time that I started editing, right? As we just talked about it earlier, where I just kind of stopped recently because I want to try other avenues in the editing field instead of just short form content like TikTok and stuff like that, trying to go long form like YouTube or produce it in other places where I might be able to get either a reputation or bring some more people over to my Twitch side of stuff, right? Which is where I spend most of my time on, right? So things like that.
Yeah.
But I get it, where that comes from too, because that passion, that feeling is what drives you, right? And even if, let's say, you give it that shot, that college try, and it doesn't end up working out, well, no harm, no foul in the process. At least you learn something, and if it didn't work out, it didn't work out. You move on to the next thing, right? Like, we'll never know until we actually try it, right? So
yeah, no, exactly. And then I guess another thing that's definitely a lot more shameless, I guess, is like it's also it's really easy to want to keep doing these kinds of things when you know that there very much is a high payoff that can come out of it. Like, it could be something as what most people would consider as like shallow, I suppose, which is like looking at the numbers of it. Like, for me, it's really satisfying both being able to see like the streams that my music can get when it reaches a wider audience, seeing the amount of views that my videos can get because they're within a specific niche. It can be down to like a recent example is semi-recently is a few months ago, actually. A mutual friend of both of ours, Maple, she did some Mario Party stuff with some people, did a little collab with them. And I was tasked with editing all that down and making videos out of them and whatever. And and typically what happens is when she collabs with people, I go and follow them because I'm like, if I like if she's working with them, they probably have personalities that I like, and so I go and follow them and eventually consume their content like regular as well. And there was one certain instance where I had actually just followed one of the people that she had collaborated with on that Mario Party thing. And I was watching it for a little bit while I was at work, and then I had to close the stream to go and do something. And then she sends me a message, and she goes, "Yeah, her chat is watching the video with her right now." And I'm like, "Yes, vindication, let's go!" And a bunch of people were just like, "These edits are hilarious. Like, I should totally hire this person and whatever." And so like that just feels satisfying to see. Like,
feels great.
Yeah, it feels nice.
Well, you heard me, like, what we were talking about this obviously before we started too, because I was saying one of the things that I noticed was Maple's TikToks and stuff like that got super high because I realized, well, when I knew that you were working on them, I was like, well, yeah, that makes sense now, right? Because I've seen the way you edit stuff, right?
Yeah.
That feeling's always great though too, but it's also good to know that like that hard work paid off for you, right?
Yeah.
Like, like that insecurity, because we all have it regardless if people want to lie to you or not, that they don't have it, is that, am I doing the right thing, or is this working? It answers those questions for you. I don't think it's selfish. I think it's that clarification that you did something right,
Right, yeah.
Because we're all nervous. We want to produce it. We want it to feel satisfying. It's not like about the instant gratification side of it, is that we worked hard for this, and we want people to recognize that we worked hard, right?
Right, yeah. And actually, yeah, I guess one more small thing about that specifically, just another little pat on the back of my, because you ever played Risk of Rain before?
I love Risk of Rain, dude.
All right,
All
hell
of them.
As you may or may not have seen, I did make a whole like a 2-hour some odd long thing on the Risk of Rain 2 soundtrack because that's like my second favorite game period, and like probably my favorite soundtrack period from a game. And the satisfying thing about that whole thing was that the composer of the music himself found my video and was like, hey, wow, this is awesome that you made this whole thing. And he made like a Twitter post trying to get more people into it. And like, it ultimately didn't amount to like anything too crazy. Like, I think the tweet itself got like 1.3 thousand views before he deleted the tweet. And stuff like that. So it's not really about that. In a situation like that, it's not really about the numbers that came out of it, but it was just like, wow, getting recognized by one of like probably the most salient person responsible for the thing of which I am essentially reviewing. I was like, this is like the amount of views that I got on that Ultra Kill video, crazy, but it still might not even feel quite as good as having the composer of what some people would consider to be like top 3 video game soundtracks ever, like stopping by and looking at the video.
Yeah, that is a crazy feeling,
Right.
dude. Crazy. Personally, probably one of my favorites. I could give you a list of some of my favorite video game stuff, and Risk of Rain is probably number 1. I give Ultra Kill. I would say it's still like, yeah, if you would ask me right now, it'd be number 2 on my list because drum and bass is a special place in my heart, right?
Yeah.
And it's just everything with it. But at the end of the day, like Risk of Rain was something that I knew long before even Ultra Kill, and I literally still listen to all the albums. I have them all downloaded to this day. I listen to it when I do art, all kinds of stuff. The composer is just phenomenal. It's up there for me with video game composers as what's his name, Mick Gordon,
Yeah.
who does all the stuff for Doom and stuff like that, dude. Because it's just like you can't beat that. But getting that feeling of somebody recognizing that, oh god, dude, that would be it. I would retire.
Yeah.
But,
Like, I don't care if I have the money to retire. I'm doing it anyways. I hit the peak. I did what I was supposed to do.
That's it. I knew the assignment and I got it. I got where I needed to be.
Yeah.
Now my life is that's it. I can die happy, dude. Oh man, which is actually good because ironically enough, that was something as well that I was going to talk to you about with this kind of stuff too, because like obviously you and I both have an affinity for music with stuff. You've gotten a little farther than I have, and I've actually been looking into dabbling into music creation myself, but it is something that when you come into it from a fresh perspective and it's new, it's like anything, right? Things get overwhelming at the beginning, but it's also taking your baby steps into it, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that I think that I personally think you really cover super well is the analytical side of music and breaking things down to its bare bones and why it makes things good. I.e., an example, that your Ultra videos have been phenomenal in regards to this, right? Risk of Rain. I didn't really get to fully see the whole thing. I won't lie to you, but like
It's 2 hours long. I don't blame you.
Yeah, I don't need to know in order for me to also be like, I know you did a phenomenal job on it because like it's phenomenal music, right? And that's where, again, coming into that, visually and audibly, like you have a very keen sound and like an ear and kind of eyes for this kind of stuff, right? And like honestly, it's cool to see as somebody from an outside perspective like myself who's had that keen eye, and actually even pulling back even further when we were talking about that fuzzy feeling thing, to me that is something that like music for me is hits very close to home because it's a special place in my heart that I have for a lot of music with that stuff and wanting to recreate those feelings that I have for when those music come in. And when I see other people also doing that, it kind of inspires me to also want to do the same, right?
Yeah.
But did you find like when you came into that, even the first time when you made like your album and everything for this stuff, like did you find it difficult to like come back and forth, or was there anything that like made you nervous in doing it, right? Like even now after you've gotten that recognition, do you feel like you did it right?
Are you talking about the first album that was created, period? Like the first project that I ever created, or are you referring to...
Yeah. Oh, the one you sent me, because I don't know if you made one before that.
I've made so many more before the one that I sent you, dude. I'm like...
You didn't send me a lot of them. Like, I don't know if you had any
No, that's
other
fair.
ones.
That's
I've only
totally
seen the
fair.
one.
It's just what I sent you essentially just it was a product of the time, and it was a product of like the circumstances, and it was more like you were like, this preview is good, now I want more. So I was like, okay, well this came from this, but I've obviously 95% of the other content that I've released before that is not that. So I mean, regarding
That-
that specific, I mean, regarding the most recent one that I sent you, which is like my second or third most recent product that I've made, period. Like most recent album, second or third most recent product. It's at first I mostly did it because I was trying to dabble into making music in a similar style to Ultra Kill, which I thought would be easy enough. I thought it would be easy enough because I understand that like drum instrumentation, like a lot of what makes that genre like breakcore good in my eyes is how it's arranged, and the arrangement portion of music is a thing that I feel like I'm really good at, like probably the thing that I'm the best at among all things that it takes to make music and whatever. And so I was like, okay, now I can just find ways to fuse, like take inspiration from fusion genres that were thrown in to make Ultra Kill's soundtrack the way that it was. I was like, I can find ways to do those little things and have those still kind of feel like something that I would do. Like, the whole point was to feel like, it was kind of to feel like breakcore music that you could tell was created by me, rather than music that felt like it was trying to fit in with what Hikita had made for Ultra Kill, or even feeling like what other people do with breakcore. I don't know what it is about the way that other people make breakcore. I think it's good. It's just not my particular style per se. Again, I don't really have the words to explain why, but I was like, this feels like it's breakcore, but it's like a little bit different for one reason or another.
Yeah. You wanted to make it your own kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Like and like even when I say like drum and bass, right? Because that's, if you want to think of it, that's the true. Like I feel
That's
like
the parent
breakcore is the subgenre of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, right. So I feel like there's so many different ways you can do it, and Ultra Kill is very specific to its style with it, but it works well with the game too, right? In comparison to, let's say, if you were just listening on your own, like how do you want that same reaction for somebody who just wants to listen to it, right? Because obviously you're not being able to force it into a state of where people are listening to, where, i.e., an example, like Ultra Kill music is in Ultra Kill, right?
Right.
So,
that's where people are primarily probably going to experience it first, and that's kind of that's going to shape the way that they're perceiving the music.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like in movies and like other stuff too, right? Like, some people won't hear like certain songs up until they actually hear it through watching a movie, and then they relate it to that experience, and that's what makes them actually end up downloading it or listening to that music, because then they forever relate it in that experience itself, right?
Right, yeah. And in my case, that's not really a thing that's not really a thing that ever really is going to, because like I feel like music that invokes that kind of thing is definitely the work of a much more experienced composer, producer person that I'm not even
Genius.
close to that level. But what's funny about that specific mention of it is like having its inclusion in something be what helps shapes the vibes. I actually had some people ask me if the album was on YouTube, because they were going to take the links and then put them into their Cybergrind or Ultra Kill. Because like I'm pretty sure you can import music into Ultra Kill, and I think some people actually took what I gave them and they imported it either into the Cybergrind game mode or into just the game, which is really funny. But yeah, ultimately I kind of was just like, I made one song mostly as a means of experimenting and seeing what I could and couldn't do. And then I was like, oh, this is fun. And I still have a whole sample folder full of amen breaks that I haven't been able to use yet.
One day.
Yeah,
one day soon.
And so I just kept making a bunch of stuff and filling out that a little bit. And then by that point, that was like Ultra Kill Layer 7 had dropped, and I was like, okay, I'm making a video on that in the process of working on all of this. And then at that point, I was like, okay, well, by the time this video is ready, I know for a fact that the album's going to be ready, so I just kind of dropped it and gave it to people.
Nice.
And I feel like there's no wrong way to do music in that sort of context, really. Because, like, one, it was very much for the target audience of people who are already going to listen to a video about Ultra Kill's music, and then having music that at least gives a similar sort of energy, sort of situation. So I definitely wasn't concerned about if it was being done correctly or if it was being done justice, because ultimately, I don't think I have like a weird taste in music. I don't think I have a weird production style. But I do tend to think that I feel like my music it just has like a slightly different feel to it than a lot of other music in the same genre. Like a lot of lo-fi that you're going to hear on lo-fi playlists that streamers abound are going to put on their playlists or whatever. Like those have a very specific tone to them. And like I have playlists of music like that for that specific feeling. Mine doesn't really do that. Mine invokes a different feeling, and it has like a bit more energy to it, or it has a bit more It has energy isn't really the right word. I guess the point I'm trying to make is that it's not designed to be quite as quote unquote easy listening as regular lo-fi music. There's still a couple of things that might happen that will make you skip a beat and go, wait, hold on, what the hell was that?
Yeah, break from it almost.
Yeah, that kind of thing. So that's just generally how I like to approach my music. And then the short and sweet answer for the first album that I made is I definitely wasn't concerned about if I did anything correctly because it was the first song that I had ever made at the height of the COVID era, and I made it out of spite. So
that you need to send me this stuff at some point. I want to listen to this, and eventually, I always like hearing anything, anyways, right? Because it's regardless of where people come from or what they do. It's like the same thing with art. I always tell people like when they like do something and they're comparing it to, let's say, somebody who's had years of work with stuff, and they're like, oh well, like it's not that good, and it's like, well, no, you can't look at it at the perspective of where you want to already be, and you're saying that it's not that good. I want to know where you are now, because knowing, like, let's say this is where you came from, or this is your first experience with it, and this is what you're doing, I'm going to be probably more proud of it if I'm already seeing like great potential from it than I would be with someone who is, you know, already comparing at a way farther state, right? So
yeah.
I also like music, so I just love to hear it. I won't lie to you.
I mean, ain't nothing wrong with that. That's kind of the fun part about that. But yeah, that's generally how I treat it. And
nice.
Seems like it's working so far.
Yeah, well, hey, you know, like passions come and like go with a lot of stuff like that too, right? Like you said, right? There's certain stuff that like helps you kind of reignite that passion for making it in a certain way, right? Like especially with, again, like music, especially is something that I feel, well, at least so coming from an artist side, even as you mentioned too, right? Where you still kept creating like samples for stuff and things like that you wanted to eventually add in at some point. It's no different with art, right? Like I do the same thing all the time. I would never want to show you the folder that I have of all the unfinished work that I've got, because it was projects that I started and I got to a certain point of it, and then I lost either that motivation or the feeling, or something just got cut up and I forgot about it, and then, you know, like it's just sat there for an eternity. And I'm pretty sure I have a drive somewhere that has like so much of that work that will never probably get finished. It'll turn into a dinosaur before we have that happen, right? But it's the same thing, right? But eventually, sometimes you come back to it, because I've found myself more recently too reusing old ideas and thoughts that I had like way back, but I didn't have the capacity to make that come to life as I do now, right? Well, hell, even now, it's like time is the biggest issue for me for a lot of stuff. It's either I get to enjoy some of my side hobby / passions, or I lose sleep. So there's no in between. Like that's pretty much the options there, right?
Yeah.
So, but no, it's good with that kind of stuff too, because you know, Ultra Kill, I think, was like a good inspiration, because it's funny, because that was one of the first things that you and I initially also like talked about and bonded with this stuff. And it's funny how a game like that starts with this kind of thing can really pull people together with just something similar, right? Or with, you know, similar ideals into what they enjoy from something. And, you know, Ultra Kill being that main catalyst to that, right? Which brings me to another thing that I was pulling into it, which was funny about it, because ironically enough, I re-pulled up the game not too long ago. You'd hate me. Well, you wouldn't hate me, but you'd be disappointed in the fact that I still haven't started the most recent stage and played since they did the update. And a lot of it is because I've been doing so much other stuff and I've been catching up on so many things that Ultra Kill kind of ended with me doing everything that I was proud enough to do, because let's be real, I managed to at least try and unlock everything that I could outside of the last act that I'd never finished, but that's separate. And I also just never jumped back on it, but I came back to try and beat your goddamn speed time, and I still can't do it, man. I still can't do it. And I was sitting there, and I started it, and I was like 15, 20 minutes in of just trying to beat what we did, and I was like, I can't. And I came to that conclusion where I was just like sitting in a chat with a bunch of like the homies at the time, and I was like, he's just better. He's just younger. He's better. He's got faster reflexes. I'm just an old, like, dusted up gamer, and at this point, I just have to like bow down to the new generation, right? Like
modernity wins, you fuck.
Oh, you damn kids and your fast reflexes. But I had a good laugh about it, because I was like, you know what, like, they'd done so many changes between now and then on it, but I I laugh about it because I'll be honest with you. Every time I think of Ultra Kill now, it actually makes me think of you in a lot of cases too, right? Because we've talked about it. It's one of those things that we pulled in, and I like that because like I'm the type of person that I associate a lot of people with different things. It doesn't always end up just being one thing, you know what I mean? But like it's how you start with some people, right? And I'm sure as you're aware, like I meet people across the board, right? Like I hang out with a bunch of fucking VTubers now, which I never thought I was going to be, 4 years down the line of streaming. Like I have changed my content drastically from going from like shooters and like all kinds of other stuff to doing like games that I never thought that I would really like play that would be on my content wise. And I've met a lot of really great people along that way, and I consider myself to be a really versatile person, right? But like people like yourself that I feel like honestly we don't get to chat enough because we're both just very busy people with our own individual stuff. You know what I mean? But I've met people that not so much. Like if you think about the team, like with like Lucy and like Comey and like all like Nick, my buddy who I play with, he's not part of the team, but he plays with us all the time too, right?
Yeah, close enough.
We all live. Yeah,
it's like a distant cousin.
Yeah, like everybody knows Nick. Like they're like that G-pop guy or Nick, right? I'm like, yeah, that's my best friend who like we worked together for like 6 fucking years, and now we just live super far away, but we do everything together. So if I'm going somewhere, he's coming with me, kind of thing, right? But it's funny, like it's cool to meet people in that kind of sense, right? I keep saying it's funny. It's not. I don't know why. It's just a term of phrase at this point, right?
Yeah.
But where things like that come interesting into it. But the reason why it was kind of why I brought it up with this is because was Ultra Kill Ultra Kill I see as not only obviously outside of the music and the aspect of like speed running, which I thought was one of the interesting things, because that's one of the things Nick and I have done in the past is speed run games like that, and we actually compete for certain games like that. So an example, I've been replaying I bought Ghost Runner 2 like an eternity ago.
Ooh.
I don't know if you've played the Ghost Runner games before.
I've watched my friend play it for like an hour or two, and it was pretty entertaining.
I think you'd like it. Like the first one and the second one are pretty good. It's not Ultra Kill level of like speed run where you can do a lot of crazy stuff, but I think the concept's relatively there, right?
Yeah, it's like
it's more cyberpunky, right?
Yeah,
But
periodically as we've been talking through these things, I'm like, there's certain points that I want to bring up, but I'm like, I don't even know if he's played this game before yet. So like, as soon as you said Ghost Runner, I was thinking Neon White, but I actually don't know if that's on your list.
Oh, Neon White? I feel like I've heard of. Well, like I've not only played like a lot of different games, but I've also like not played a lot of like really popular games. Neon White, I feel like I've heard of.
Yeah, the basic consensus is still kind of the same thing, except its primary gimmick is like these cards that you can pick up that are gun cards, which have a certain amount of ammo in them, so you can either use the ammo to kill enemies or use their alternate ability for like movement.
I think I've heard of it. Yeah, this came out 2022. I think I heard of this around the time that I saw like Ultra Kill was becoming like a bigger thing. But no, I have not. It's not on my list, but it looks cool. It looks like it's very similar concept to it. It's got like, why it's the cards that I'm seeing that are familiar too. And this gives me like a Persona kind of vibe
definitely.
to it as
I haven't
well.
played Persona, but it's definitely that kind of look.
I haven't either.
It's really cool.
But I know that people adore that game for that look with that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I haven't jumped into it because again, there's some games that I have played and I haven't played. Like I don't know if you know how crazy people went over Half-Life stuff, and I didn't start actually I didn't play Half-Life until 2 years ago, and I played all the games all at once. I'd never played them before now. And then like everyone would be like, "Oh, dude, like you're gonna be so excited for when the next Half-Life comes out." And I'm like, "Dude, like this was like a joke like 20 years ago. I really don't care.
You just stop."
Like I just wanted to play the game to finally get the experience from it, right?
Right.
And even me coming in playing Fallout New Vegas this year, which I'm finally done. Phenomenal, right? I played all the other Fallout games except for like the first couple of them because they're really old games, and I actually just watched somebody play them instead.
Yeah.
New Vegas was great, even though the game was jank because it was super old and it was not meant to be a PC port. It was a fun game to get into, right? But like pulling it back into at least what I was talking with it, like games like Ghost Runner and stuff like that, right? Like one of the things that I thought was funny is that I've realized that you and I think it's Moonlight, the two of you guys, like you guys battle each other out on some of these stuff, right? Like you're trying to get faster speeds and stuff. So was like Ultra Kill like your introduction into like that style of gaming too, like almost like speed running stuff, or did you have stuff before that you also got into?
There definitely weren't games that I would speedrun in the same capacity as Ultra Kill. I'm just trying to like do a little kind of introspective, like looking back at games that I have played. There are definitely certain games that I would try and play faster because I was obsessed with them, and like playing the game faster meant I got to replay the game more, essentially.
You're not wrong. I know. I understand that perspective.
Yeah, and so like I don't know, like the best, most recent example that I can think of, not like just as a game that I would speed run, sort of, because most like speedruns I don't take super duper seriously in terms of like trying to learn new tech. It's mostly just optimizing the tech that I do know to be as fast as I can within those limits without having to learn like how to clip out of the map and how to do a bunch of other random bullshit.
Without game breaking. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like I'll keep it within that level. But like the last game that I really tried to kind of do that for was it wasn't just Call of Duty Black Ops 3. It wasn't just the zombies. It was one specific map in Black Ops 3 Zombies back when the game was still like, people are still talking about it a ton because it's like the last good Call of Duty Zombies games that we have. Maybe like last two, I would say. But like I would practice speedrunning that map, which granted, like, you know, zombie maps Easter eggs, especially in Black Ops 3, take like half an hour, 45 minutes for even the average fast guy.
Yeah, they were Mr. Raffle Waffles.
Yeah.
Me and Nick, dude, we recently actually rebought COD so we could replay all the zombie maps.
Hell
and that's what
yeah.
we're excited for the new one for, dude, because that's what we did is him and I went back and replayed all the Easter eggs that we could play. Because, you know, that's what we were just trying to do, right? I think it was 3 that had the DLC. You could buy all the zombies maps, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, they had a DLC that came out like right after the game's life cycle. It technically ended. That gave you a bunch of legacy maps that they remastered for the game.
Yeah, I was trying to think if it was that or if it was Infinite Warfare that redid it all. I feel like it was Infinite Warfare that did it.
I don't remember.
Because that was the one that,
Warfare
like, I think Infinite Warfare did all of its old legacy stuff where it had all the, like, the best maps from all the previous Call of Duties. Like, you had your, oh god, I can't even remember the names of the map because, like, honestly, like,
Infinite Warfare was definitely not the one that was doing that because the company that handled making Infinite Warfare didn't really make like a proper zombies game prior to that. So it was definitely Black Ops 3 that did that because they would pull in. They pulled in all 4 of the legacy maps from from World at War. They pulled in like 2 or 3 maps from Black Ops 1, and then they pulled in Origins from Black Ops 2 for the game.
I was trying to think. Oh, okay, so it was 3 then.
Yeah.
I think 2 or Infinite Warfare was they remade some of the ones that were like really crazy, but people weren't as like popular with. You know what I mean? Because I know we went back through both, but I can't remember which one.
I don't remember Infinite Warfare ever remastering anything. They might have remastered like multiplayer maps, but the only other game that I know that did anything like that, Black Ops 4 did that, where all of its base game and DLC, not all of them, a lot of its base game and DLC maps that came out within its life cycle were remasters. They remastered Nuketown Zombies, they remastered Call of the Dead. Well, quote unquote remastered. They took the bones of the map and then they gave it more stuff. They remastered Mob of the Dead for Blood of the Dead in Black Ops 4, so that was also their kind of shtick.
I'm trying to think of the ones that came out with it because I know we bought a bunch of them, and obviously with 6 coming out, I don't know if you're excited as I am because honestly, I think zombies have kind of sucked since then because that was the zombies for me that I liked. Literally. Oh no, Infinite Warfare was all the cool ones where they had zombies in Spaceland, and that's where they had the candy thing. Like they had a bunch of the good stuff with that one. It was a good one. But anyways, with it, speed running zombie maps. Sorry, I get distracted, dude. It's that ADHD kicks in. It's like you just go.
Yeah, I haven't even had any caffeine today. You'd be impressed at just how many tangents I can go on once I have had it. No less when I haven't. But.
Yeah, well, and also unmedicated, so you know my brain just goes. So that's kind of where I am.
But yeah, no, that was the whole point. Is like back. You know, post, like, again, probably in 2020 when I didn't have anything better to be doing because I was like sort of in and out of a job. I was working during the peak of it, and then I just wasn't anymore for some reason. And so then I had a lot of time spent not doing anything. I mean, I would literally spend like most of my waking day just trying to speedrun that because I enjoy zombies a ton. So that was what I was doing. But other than that, I don't really think I've ever really tried to speedrun much of anything. I think my closest involvement with it ever at this point is there was a running bit series that me and my friends did on a group channel that we were running for a while where my friend Peter, you've talked with him a couple of times, and one of our other friends, Nate, they would just speedrun Dark Souls 3, but they would speedrun Dark Souls 3 bingo, so it was like randomized bingo, trying to get a bunch of try to get bingo and then also beat the game and whatnot.
Yeah.
And so I didn't partake in that, but I had to like watch over as all of it was happening because it's entertaining content, and then have to edit all that down into like 3 succinct videos. So
Those people are a different breed sometimes
Yeah.
too, man. Like speedrunners for like Dark Souls and stuff. Like like the people who did like no hit combos and all that other like junk and whatnot. I'm like, God bless your heart, because you make a game that is already hard look so easy, and I hate you for it.
Yeah.
Like,
I think I saw a video of this dude playing Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, Demon Souls, Sekiro, Bloodborne, Elden Ring, beating all those games back to back without getting hit. I'm like, what the
Yep,
fuck is your problem,
and without
bro?
dying.
Yeah.
Like, it's so crazy with some people like, but they practice that for like months and months on end, right?
Yeah.
So it's funny. It's interesting to hear you come from that, like in like a more recent like Call of Duty, especially during COVID time, because it's you can kind of tell my age when I gotta tell you this with this stuff too, right? Because if you think about it, like I'm not like I'm 31, so it's not like I'm old or anything, right? But like I grew up with video games, so they were such a huge part of me growing up, because I played with my brothers and a lot of games and stuff like that was us competing, right? So like Super Smash Brothers for the Nintendo 64 and things like that.
Yeah.
But I can tell you the first game that probably got me into that would have been the original Crash Bandicoot. And a lot of it was because the OG one that came out for PlayStation, you had time trials, and that's what it was, right?
Yeah.
And then when things like Crash Team Racing, if you ever got the opportunity to play that, they remastered it. They did actually a pretty good job with it too. There was the same thing there where you could do like the fastest lap kind of thing, or like the fastest 3 things. I think they even had it with like Super Mario games too, right? Like we didn't have a lot of Nintendo stuff when we were kids, but like that's where a lot of it started with me, right? And as I got older, like I didn't compete as much with my brothers, because I'll be honest with you, they both sucked at video games, so it was just a little too easy for my opinion. Shout out to my brothers, because they'll never fucking listen to this anyways, but that's not the point here. The funny thing that came from it was like I feel like I got more heavier down the video game trail because of the fact that like I played games for that reason, and I was always an achievement hunter too. So for me, like we talked, like like you said, like you would speed run a game just to get more time out of it. I always played a lot of games super slow and methodical to try and find like all the Easter eggs I could, get all those achievements and things like that. And then if they had speed running stuff, like I would go back after like beating the game, after taking the slow process and stuff, and just get really good at it, and then just speed run the shit out of stuff like right into the ground and try and beat my own speeds and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Even if you actually pull like old clips that you can from my channel back, before like I would say that I've got as big as I have, right? One of the first games that I never played was Ori and the Will of the Wisps, and the other one that came with it, I can't
Ori and
remember
the Blind
second
Forest.
one. Thank you. Yes. They have the speed, like the time trial things that you can do there, and there was a stream where my bald head ass, because I just shaved my head for charity, is sitting there, and I was trying to beat like the world records for stuff, and I think the closest I got was like 88th or something like that on one of those runs that I felt so proud of.
That's pretty good.
And yeah, well, it didn't last long, because you know how speed runs are. People find a
least you got
better
it.
way to optimize them over and over. But I have it documented on that day that I got that far. And for me, like those moments are proud, because you work hard to be like, well, how can I optimize this or do this faster, right? And like Ultra Kill, I feel like is definitely a special breed for that kind of stuff too, right?
Yeah.
So if you think of, if I take my experience from like a lot of those old ones that I've come from up until now, games like Ultra Kill is like the cracked out version of it. You know what I mean? Like you can flip between so many different weapons, but there is tactics and there is processes that you can do to make that. And I never really learned a lot of them. But I somehow actually did comparison, like in my own personal best, pretty damn good for the time that I played it. Because if I really think about it, because you have probably like hundreds of hours in Ultra Kill, no?
Probably closing. I think I got a little over 200. Where the hell's my Steam page? Let me pull it up. Steam Cloud error. Fuck off. 212.
212. So like you like dedicated some time to it. 212 hours is like a lot. Like you got your worth out of the game for sure.
Yeah,
you know?
especially because I got it
Like
when
if
it was only $25, maybe 20.
Exactly, right? And like when you watched me stream a good portion of it, and even through I played it, I only have 53 hours. And I think I gold ranked Act 1 and 2. Now I haven't finished 3 because, I stopped playing and now I'm trash. But even like the extra acts, dude, I don't know how you guys did that, because like I never even finished it. Like it was so hard for me just to even get through it and like beat the bosses, that I was like, I don't want to go back and do this. I haven't even tried brutal yet. I only did everything on violent on my first run through, and then I don't even know, like I completed P1, but I don't think I ever did P2. I don't think I ever ended up finishing it because I just couldn't handle it, dude.
Yeah, it's also just because literally Act 2 and Act 3 are like exponentially more... well, maybe not necessarily Act 2, but like P2 is exponentially more difficult than P1. And Act 3, just Layer 7 is already exponentially harder than anything that Act 1 and 2 can throw at you because...
Yeah.
And a part of it is I have a feeling a part of it is unfortunately coming from like kind of a toxic place where these ultra kill like because I know and am probably close friends with not close friends I know and am friends with some people who have like 6 to 10 times the amount of time I have in the game just playing speedrunning one level. It's ridiculous, but those people also hold the world records. So like, good on them. But there are
they practice it.
Yeah, but there are people who have hundreds upon hundreds of hours in this game who were trying to master the game down to a minute level and then would complain that the game is too easy. And it's like, well, yeah, because you put hundreds of hours into it. And so because of that, it's like a lot of people have put Ultra Kill under the light of it's good because it's difficult or because it can be difficult. And so like now I mean, I can't speak for the dev because I don't know him, but I wouldn't be surprised if a part of him was like, all right, motherfuckers, you want to play this game?
And then, we can play this game.
Yeah, and then like, Layer 7 was actually like a fairly big difficulty spike by comparison to the other stages in the game that aren't Prime Sanctums. So, like, I don't blame you. It kicked my ass for a while, too.
It definitely was not easy, but like, and like I said, it's like the amount of people that I had that came in when I played that game that were like, oh, like this should be easy. What are you playing on? And I'm like, I'm playing on violent mode. And they're like, you should stop and go play regular. And I said, no, fuck you. You're not my dad. I can do what I want to do.
I'm
and that's
impressed
exactly
that they
what
said
I did.
that as opposed to, because I don't mean to throw a ton of mud at the Ultra Kill community here, but I'm surprised that a lot of them didn't come in and like, because I know a lot of Ultra Kill players, again, tie the game's worth to it being difficult. So they're like, if you're not playing on the hardest difficulty, then what you do doesn't matter. And I go, what?
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Well, a lot of them was, hey, did you know you can punch your shotgun shells? And it was like, I swear to God, if one more of you motherfuckers come in here and tell me about this, and I would purposely switch off. And I love it. Listen, I'm not shitting on any community, right? But like, it was one of the funniest things. It's coming from a streamer side of it. And I'm the kind of person that I like authentic experiences, right? So like when I play a game, I don't like people to spoil stuff for me. And I did have a lot of that with Ultra Kill, unfortunately, where it's just people who really wanted, like they were shaking to tell you what to do.
That you could
next.
punch your
and it was like,
shells.
Yeah, dude, it was crazy because I'd be like, listen, like I get that you're excited and like you want to show somebody new about this, but I got to learn it eventually myself.
Yeah.
And then I would fuck with them and I would never pull out the shotgun for the entirety time that they were there. So, because I'm spiteful like that, right? But like it's what kind of also made it enjoyable for me too. There was a lot of great people from the community that did pull in and kind of gave me a lot of good lore explanations to it. And I like... one of the things that I've realized that I think is with any game, regardless if it's like Ultra Kill or like a speedrunning game or anything, is that good niche communities actually have a really fantastic heart behind them.
Yeah.
And I think that they're willing to help people into that kind of stuff. Like if you ever get into actually like finding some of these speedrunning discords and stuff like that, I've never really personally been a part of a ton of them, but I've heard about a few of them from, my buddy Nick and a couple other people. And they say that they're actually way more inviting than you think they would, because even though like the idea of it seems really toxic, that, like you said, right? Like some people will be like, oh, like they'll speed run it over and over again and be like, this game's easy. It's like, yeah, well, you just spent 500 hours doing the same thing over and over again in 3 months of your life. So no wonder you think it's easy now, because you mastered it, right? But a lot of people that get into that, there's so much of like a community side of it, especially in speedrunning, that seems like people are willing to like share those secrets of how to do certain things or like how to optimize runs. And it's kind of almost heartwarming, because if you think about it, right, there are those people that are toxic like that, and like let's call them like the 1%ers, like the people who do like generally break records and stuff like that. But then when you look at the actual community of it, and it's people are like, oh dude, you just got to do this, or like here, like I'll come practice with you kind of thing. It's crazy to see the difference to it, right?
Yeah.
Which is funny, because coming back to me talking about it when I got back onto the game and I couldn't beat your record, I just accepted defeat because it was like, I'm not mad about it, because the reality is that I haven't played enough for me to get to that level, but maybe one day I will, right?
Yeah.
You never know with stuff like that, but I ain't mad at it. It was still such a fun game to play, and I'm still dedicated to beat that goddamn time. So one day.
Yeah,
but
dude,
we'll see.
It's literally, it's going to be like, months down the line. It's going to be years down the line, and I may have forgotten about Ultra Kill, and you're going to be like, ah.
I'm going to send it to you, and you're going to turn on the game and then beat it in like an hour, and you're going to be like, all right, your turn, and I'm going to be like, that's it. I quit.
That's
I'm
it.
done.
Uninstalling the game, throwing the computer out the window.
Oh, man. No, it's good with that kind of stuff. It's, yeah, it's especially with like Ultra Kill, man. That's stuff really does bring a good passion into us with that. I like that. I like that stuff, man.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's fun seeing, like, when I move past all the people who are like, I kind of like to troll people in the same way that you do when they try and, you know, say something about something or whatever. Like there's in the first Ultra Kill video that I made, I very much was like being some of the basically some of the talking points that I was doing while I was in there was very much me being like a character. And so in one of the level in 1-2, when you find the cancerous rodent, I recorded my gameplay talking about the music, or I guess the noise, if you will. And then after I finished that, I went, before I move on to the next level, I want to show you guys something really quickly. And it was me, quote unquote, discovering the secret of the cancerous rodent for the first time. Killing the very cancerous rodent with a slab revolver, which for all you Ultra Kill nerds will know that you have to kill the cancerous rodent first to get one of the slabs that you need to get the slab revolver. And I did that. And I had a bunch of people coming into the comments and being like, see, the joke is that he used the slab revolver to kill. I'm like, God, yes, you figured it out. Awesome. Good on you.
Thanks, forehead.
Or like some people being like, or oh God, I can't even think of it. Like, there were some people who were like, actually no, surprisingly, I don't think I had anybody like come in and tell me that the way that I was performing in one of the clips was like unoptimal or anything. Because if anything, it was mostly just because one, it's a music video. Why are you paying attention to my gameplay in the first place?
I was gonna say,
but there will be times where I will do something really stupid that won't make sense, like the Gutter Man in 7-2. He's just this big fucking mech with a big fucking machine gun.
I hate those guys.
Yeah, and he has a shield, and you can guard break him with the knuckle blaster. And I swear to God, when I was playing the game, I could have sworn that you can use the knuckle blaster to consistently keep parrying him. That turned out to not be the case, and so then I had a bunch of people in the comments being like, going to that timestamp and being like, "Don't worry, you'll get it eventually." And I'm like, "You shut the fuck up." I knew they meant well. I was just being dramatic, but I'm like, leave me alone.
Dude, that was like me near the end with that shotgun stuff, dude. It was like I was almost at the end of the game, and there were still people coming in being like, you know, you can like parry your own shotgun shots. And I'm like,
no, I don't want to.
Dude, do you really think that I made it this far without doing that? Like,
Yeah.
I would stop my stream, deliberately stare into my camera, pull out the shotgun, do it once, put it away, and then go back to what I was doing again, because it'd just be like, dude, it was. I don't know why that specifically sat with me, but
I think it sits with everybody because it's the most baseline thing that people are going to find on accident, but everybody wants to tell you about it because, like, when you really think about the mechanic, it really is one of the cooler things the game can do because it doesn't make any sense. But like,
it is.
It gets to the point where like the guy I was talking about earlier, who has like 1,800 hours in the game, with most of those being speedrunning one level, like he for a long time held the world record for P1 at like I don't even fucking know what the figures are, like 45, some bullshit, I don't even know. And he would stream himself consistently trying to practice to be better at getting the world record, or like retaking the world record if he was in second place. And people would come in and be like, "Hey, did you know you can?" He's like, "Shut the fuck up!
Do you not know
Do
who I am?
you not know who I am?"
Are you not entertained?
So yeah, it's very silly in that capacity.
God, it's funny with that. It's interesting seeing it from even come out on the content side too, right? Where like, you know, in comparison, like obviously as you talk, like you don't really stream as much anymore because, you know, there's not really the time that's there. Obviously, as you know, that I still stream very consistently, right? Where it comes out, and not only just from like streams, right? It's happening in real time, but like you said, like in content that you've even posted, that people are still commenting on that stuff, right? Which makes it I don't know why that amuses me even more to think about it, that somebody took the time out of their day to actually analyze your gameplay to say, hey, listen, did you know like this is not the way you should do this kind of thing? Or like you should do it like this, like it's better, right? It's like, well, it's not like I'm going to go back and re-record this and then post it for you just because you noticed it. You know what I mean? I feel like that's just even more the irony of it.
Yeah,
but,
it's YouTube videos specifically where they're like, you could have done this properly. And I'm like, dude, I know.
God,
you think
so
that's what
funny.
my point was?
I think I've only ever had that with a couple of like TikTok videos that I've posted where somebody's like, oh, like what's this? Or did you know you could do this? Right. And it's like, dude, like the centerpiece of my content has nothing to do with the gameplay because like half the time my gameplay is not even that good. That's not what I do it for. I do it because it's a funny moment that made me laugh. And clearly other people enjoy it because, you know, like they're watching it or they're commenting on it. Right.
Yeah.
But it's like, you really pulled it out of it? Like, you wanted to pull somebody out of that fun experience just for that? Like,
it's like
oh God,
it's like
some people.
It's like the point of my content
crazy.
is not my mechanical skill. The point of my content is look at this random tarnished enemy floating around like Jesus. Okay.
watch me play the co-op of Elden Ring, and it because it's glitchy with our connection. Watch me float off into space.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's adding a meme to it. Like if I was really doing like content that I was like doing it for the actual like skill of my gameplay, I would probably be in a very low tier like niche community. I'm not in any way skilled at any kind of specific game that makes me feel that I'm confident enough to be like up at the high ranges. You know what I mean? Like those dudes that play like Guitar Hero and they play like the craziest things on like 4 times speed while like, you know, strumming the guitar with their toes. Like I have no interest in that. That's not fun for me, right? Like I like doing what I do and creating those moments, like I said, naturally, right? I like to like have that where something unexpected happens and you can just blatantly laugh over it, right? I'm no comedian by heart either, but you know, I can throw a good stab at people, and sometimes when you have that with friends, that like it can be just inherently funny, right? If you were, I don't know how much you've been watching of a lot of the stuff that I've done recently, but I've been able to kind of pull in some more content with like people that I've wanted to do, like playing with Steve-O and Babs and Nick and myself. We were all playing Played Up.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was thinking.
It was so good, and like we had that one night where it was just like we were just in hysterics laughing over like the dumbest shit that I could think of that we did. And like sure, maybe to some people who might have come in like partway through that wouldn't have gotten the joke, but like I can go back to that now and we still laugh and talk about that, right? So it's like those moments really make a difference, right? And you know, I think as like for someone who makes content for that reason, right? And a lot of it's like with what I do, right? Because I think like Twitch to me is a different style of content than let's say YouTube and stuff. YouTube and like TikTok and stuff, as you probably, I don't need to explain it to you. You know how algorithms work. You know what kind of content people like to see. We know how trends are. Like we've gone down that route before. I'm sure you've done your research. I know I've done mine. It's hard to grasp some people's attention with stuff unless if you have something specific that they're there and want, right? So I find those comedic moments is usually what works for me with those things, right? But Twitch for me, I find is a way for me to meet people outside of that, because not all content that you're going to develop is going to be like those YouTube videos. Like nobody's ever constantly having those moments like one after another. It's edited for a reason, right?
Right.
Unless if you are, then God bless your heart, because you're gonna die from a heart attack from laughing so hard one of these days. You know what I mean? But like Twitch really kind of, I think, really produces the more realistic, real version of how a lot of that content comes to light, right? And I think there's an opportunity for you to be more real with it. And something that like I've learned with age more than I think anything is that like like not all my streams are going to be super entertaining. Some people actually do watch me for whatever game I'm playing. Some people watch me for me, an example, right? Or some people might just be for the experience of an event that we're doing or with somebody else, right? But regardless of it, is like it's more of the content I find that I'm comfortable with because it comes out naturally, right? Like a conversation that we can just have, you and me sitting here talking about this stuff, right? Like it comes naturally and it makes me confident in it because it's like it's not always going to be entertaining. I'm not here cracking jokes at you every 2 minutes, like, you know, like we're on Seth Rogen's podcast and he's fucking crying of laughter because he's smoking a joint still. You know what I mean? Like it's an own specific kind of style of things, and I think it's good to be unique in the own thing that you want to produce for that kind of stuff, right? But you know, content as a whole, I feel like is such a an interesting perspective to come in from being the creator versus the people who just view it, right? So like reading comments and stuff like that, that I come back to every so often always kind of give me a giggle too, because I'm like, God, what the fuck were they thinking when they were writing this stuff out, you know? But it gives you a different perspective on your stuff too, right? And I think it's how we can adapt with some of the things that we do. But I don't know, there's something inherently enjoyable about it, right? Like maybe just finally being able to produce and put stuff out there, regardless if people enjoy it or they don't, right? But especially even getting into like communities, right? Like I said, you know, like Ultra Kill was like, you know, as much as it was annoying with some of my streams and stuff like that, there's a lot of great people that were in there that really helped out. And there's other games that I've played like that I've had a similar experience. And I think that's where like a lot of where my content personally kind of comes from, and where I develop certain relationships with different people. And then I eventually sometimes inspire them to do other things, right? Like what we were talking about earlier today, right? You know, and that to me, that's my holy grail, you know, like that's what I enjoy doing, is like making, you know, people, maybe they just need that quick talk, or there's something that they didn't think about doing until it's like maybe me just say, hey, do it, you know, like what's stopping you, you know? So but yeah, it's an interesting way to kind of go into it, considering that I always used to just consume content for years, and then, you know, in the last 4 years of switching everything over has been such a trip, right? But I'm like, my brain's like processing things, but I'm trying to think of that one game outside of Ultra Kill that I feel like had such a unique niche community, but it was not like I wouldn't call it a normie game, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? I don't know how else the other perspective. Rain World is what that game was. I don't know if you've ever gone down that route. It's a completely different style of game in comparison to, let's say, like Ultra Kill or a lot of the other stuff that I play. Because sometimes I'll get really heavy into some like indie games, but it had that same thing where it's I don't know. Would you consider Risk of Rain to really have a niche community? I feel like it's relatively common.
Yeah, Risk of Rain is a game within a niche community. It's a game within a genre that has a niche community, but Risk of Rain has kind of evolved past it.
Risk of Rain 2 evolved past it.
Yeah.
Risk of Rain 1, then Returns, which I don't know if you bought, but you should, because it's great.
I have like 2 hours in it. I haven't fully committed to it yet. The main reason that I did is... Like, the main reason that I did that and I got it in the first place was because, like, it was mostly off the backs of the Risk of Rain 2 video, where a lot of people were saying that, like, one, its music is really good, but two, it also gives you a lot of context behind the music for Risk of Rain 2, since there were a ton of Risk of Rain original things that were referenced in the second game's music, so...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, God, another great, phenomenal game to get into. We will give it all that one of these days. I've been talking with a few people about bringing stuff back. Well, my people will talk to your people. We'll make something happen one of these days soon when we free up some time. But
transfer the sneeze to me.
I see. I did it from earlier. It's that cat hair, dude. I think I still have the hair up my nose.
I think the hair went through the microphone into my microphone, out the microphone into my nose.
We were talking about this before we started, where it was like that's what it was. 'Cause I was petting my cat, and it's just cat hair, and we went at that whole process of shit. So. God, it was a good time. But yeah, no, like honestly, like that's where a lot of this stuff like kind of came from. It was kind of cool because, like, you know, as somebody who sees it in a different perspective, and you know, you've obviously inspired me for some stuff too, right? Because I love enjoying your content, right? I think you really do a lot of great stuff. You really like pull a lot of really well thought out content. You know, you're very clean with the way that you produce stuff, and results show, right? You know, I don't know how many people tell you that, but I personally see it, and like that's where like I personally like enjoy a lot of your stuff too, right? Where for somebody who's personally been on the opposite end of it, where I feel like I'm extraordinarily chaotic person. I do not plan things. I just literally wing half of my stuff, and somehow it works out in the end. But I think it also works because I'm a person that works well under pressure.
Yeah.
That it just kind of has that combination. But I can still have an appreciation for the opposite, because it's like, you know, it's one of those, I want to be like you know what I mean? Right? But it's made for definitely some interesting perspectives and how that has also in time changed a little bit the way that how I think about my content and stuff like that, right? And like how, let's say an example, like you've inspired me to do things, right? Hell, like fuck, I probably wouldn't have Ultra Kill still downloaded at this point if it wasn't for me trying to beat that record still, right?
The idea of being able to beat the record.
Oh, God, one of these days. I feel like I'm shaking my fists like the Scooby-Doo gang. You and your meddling kid. Like
taking back my record that I took from you, bastards.
after I was so proud of that too.
But, no, there's definitely a bit, there's definitely a thing to be said about, like, I mean, because I obviously brought it up earlier where I'm like, a lot of the content that I make and a lot of the routes that I decide to go down are based off of things that I see from other people because those inspire me on like a much smaller scale. But I've had plenty of people who have come to me and have tried to look into the idea of like making videos in the kind of style that I do. Like literally the team that I'm on, I would say everybody that's on that team, barring one or two people probably, have been interested in making something. Like as like a brief rundown, I have one guy who has like, you know, almost probably 2,000 hours in Deep Rock Galactic. He's literally like, he has, you know, almost 2,000 hours in Deep Rock Galactic. He has almost every single one of the characters at max level. He has like all of the cosmetics that you can get in the game, I'm pretty sure. Like, he's done almost everything.
Dedicated.
He's done almost everything because that's the game that he loves to his core. He wanted to make a video, or a couple of videos actually, on like the bare bones overarching, like, this is what the game is. This is what you are tasked with doing. This is how you can achieve those things with these characters. He wanted to do videos on the actual characters themselves, going more in depth on their mechanics and their weapons and their play styles and their overclocks, like different modifiers and stuff. He eventually wanted to do something about like how to do the have you played Deep Rock before? I think I've asked you this before.
I have, and I remember when that game first launched in like its beta for people to pick up, and I played it. And never actually, like, I uninstalled it years ago, but
Fair.
I played it, and I really wanted to get deeper and deeper into it, but the people I was playing with at the time didn't end up continuing to play with me, and I lost anybody who wanted to play with me, so I was like kind of disappointed. But I love the game, dude. The game is amazing.
Yeah, it's great.
I still think it is. I just haven't jumped back into it because, you know,
the people that got you into it in the first place. Yeah, and also time, yeah. And that was kind of the situation he found himself in. But essentially, there's like a game mode that you can do where you literally do 3 missions back to back to back. But the hazard level difficulty increases every level, and there's like there's different buffs and debuffs, and these things swap every week, so it's like a fun weekly thing that you can do. And there's 2 of them, and he wanted to do like videos on like how to do those challenges without like the overclock modifiers that just may turn your weapons into absolutely batshit insane creations. So he wanted to do stuff like that. I have one friend who wanted to make a video about Ultra Kill, actually, because they're the one who got me into it. Kirby wanted to do this. They wanted to make a whole video on just overviewing the entire game. Much like there's a YouTube content creator that her and I consume that did this, and they wanted to do something like that on their own as well. I have a buddy who's actually been committing to doing videos like this, but he's doing it on like a smaller level. They're like kind of like 15-minute bite-sized little things of like, you know, why he likes playing why he likes playing heavy grappler characters in fighting games, what he likes about fighting games, what he likes about survival games. So he does stuff like that. And then one of my friends who I interviewed on here, he said that he wanted to make videos kind of in a similar style to what I wanted to do, but he didn't really have any specific ideas planned out yet. So like most of the people on my team very much are like, they look to me as the person who can help them conceptualize and understand how to do an undertaking of a project that, you know, that results in a video that's more than half an hour long. So I've definitely gotten that from plenty of people, and despite how full my plate is with a lot of things that I do, I'm still always down to like jump in a call with them and be like, okay, if you're writing down a script, this might be a better way to word things, this might be a better way to structure things. Like showing them like a glimpse of, you know, what I did for something and saying, you see what I did here, this is how I did it, things like that. So I'm always down, like if anybody wants to come to me about anything that they know that I'm good at, music production, video creation, podcast recordings, anything related to, not anything, but a lot of things relating to audio, tech, like stuff like that. Like my doors are always open. Like I love just telling people about these kinds of things because, you know,
you love teaching.
Yeah, because teaching's fun, and it's also because like I could very well be the thing that then sparks somebody's joy to go and create another massive thing that they enjoy. And I would feel like I shafted them of that opportunity if I didn't explain to them what I can, because I've been blessed with the resources that I have via content creators that I've seen that maybe will never give me, like, maybe those people never would explicitly talk to me and say, this is how you do things, but I would get information from them via tutorials or something. So it's like, if I know them, I want to be that outlet for them to help them get all that stuff figured out, because it's just like, whatever I'm good at, I want people to be able to also be good at if it's something that they really, really want to do, but maybe don't exactly know who to go to start.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel you on that. I've a similar, not quite the same with stuff, even like as I've described it. Well, you know, like actually Maple's a good example. Like Maple, as we both know, as a mutual party, has been doing phenomenal. She knows how to do what she does best, right?
Yeah.
And she's an example, one of those people that has come to me before in questions, especially about streaming, because like, you know, I think for me, it's like, I haven't produced myself to really be that kind of person to be like, oh, I'm going to blow up as fast as I can, as soon as possible, and do everything that's going to do that content. I do my morals for why I stream and do my content is my morals. I don't do it for other people. I do it for me. So regardless of if I blow up one day or if I don't, it makes no difference to me, because at the end of the day, I've won. I'm happy with what I do, and I'm going to keep doing that, right?
Yeah.
That's how I like to keep my perspective, because that's where my enjoyment and my passion comes into it. And I've had her ask a lot of questions because of like the amount of like the time and the experience that I have from it, where it's like, well, like, what would you do for this? Or like, I want to do this, but like, how would I do it? And, you know, as somebody who is like, she's long surpassed any kind of like level of that I was at, you know what I mean? I've honestly told her, I've said like, listen, like, what you're doing right now and the process that you're on is exactly what you just need to do. Like there is nothing that I can tell you at this point that, you know, is going to help you any better than what I've done with what I am, as long as you just keep your base values and what you want to do and what you want to go towards. Right. And still to this day, there's still a lot of stuff that I help out with. Right. But, you know, for things like that, like there's enjoyment that comes from it, right? Because like there is a lot of stuff that I've done in the time that I have streamed and like been streaming, and I think like my knowledge is there for it. It's just been on a much different scale, right? And when I do have people that come towards me for stuff like that or ask me about that kind of stuff, they're like we talked about earlier with stuff about it just feeling gratifying, right? Knowing that like somebody has confided in you to be like, I don't know how to do this, teach me, Daniel Son. Like,
yeah.
like, you know what it is, right? Like they're and like I have an appreciation for that, because I like helping people too, right? Because there's something for me, and like art is a big indicator for this kind of stuff too, because I have so many people that are, I wouldn't consider myself the best artist in the world. Hell, I don't even like some of my stuff half the time, but you know what? I enjoy what I do regardless. And I get those people that are the same thing. They're like, how do you do this? And it's like, I will gladly teach you right now. I will stop everything to give you the information you need so that you could grow on the stuff you need to grow with, right?
Yeah.
And it's just gratifying for me, right? Because, you know, and it's, God, I can't remember what the phrase used to be, but I can't even remember where I found it from either, but there was a conversation that I remember I had with somebody a long time ago where they talked about it's the same thing with teachers, where oftentimes teachers have the knowledge to take you where you need to go, but there will be a point in time that some people who learn from those teachers, that they will surpass their teachers, and it happens, right? But the knowledge is that even if they did at some point surpass their teachers, that those teachers did help them at the beginning, and that's what got them to where they needed to be, right? It's like helping somebody in baby steps, and you know, even if they do surpass you, I don't think it's like that's what it is. It's gratifying to know that whatever you helped them towards allowed them to achieve a greater goal that maybe you even couldn't if you didn't, or you know, that maybe just something that you didn't think was going to be possible, right?
Yeah.
So I always like that kind of stuff, right? I think it's if you do it for your own reason, it can be selfless rather than selfish, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the right reasons to do that kind of stuff, rather than like, you know, like if I were to be like, oh, listen, you know, I'm only here for the clout, like, you know, that would be the selfish reason for it. I'm not here for the clout. I'm here because I wanted to talk to you and pick your brain, because I actually enjoy having these conversations with you, right? So
Yeah, it's fun.
That's what I mean, though.
Yeah, it's fun to talk with people. Yeah, there was actually a conversation that I had with the last guest on here, who again it was a like a sort of anniversary thing with him as well. Which, I mean, when I made the post about it, this is just I pat myself on the back for this specific sentiment that I said, but when I made the announcement post about the episode dropping, I was like, I was like, yep, this is a re-debut with the person you've seen before, and this is pushing the limits of how long a podcast could be before it's considered a documentary, because that shit was 3 hours long. It was really long.
Oh, man.
But the conversation that I had with him, there was another point that came up kind of like that, where he was talking about how he was actually doing editing work for like the bigger Smite content creators, like in that space for a little while, and he was telling them like, if you do these things, they will make you a better content creator, and you'll get more outreach, and you'll get people to like care about your content more. And the things he was telling him was like, be more of yourself, because the videos you put out don't feel like who you are on stream, and that probably shies a lot of people away, right? And he was basically like, the reason I did all of this for them is because I could go and do them myself, which he ultimately ended up doing because they didn't listen to him at all. But he was like, the reason I had them do these things is because I could go and do it all myself, but then the community wouldn't be growing as much. If I'm editing videos for 5 different people, and I tell all 5 of them, this is the way that you can make your channel grow and be bigger and reach a better audience and have like higher retentions and all this stuff, then that's 5 times the effort that's 5 times the growth that you on your own can put out by enacting those same rules. So it's that same kind of idea where not only is it gratifying knowing that you're giving people the experience and the understanding for them to go and do great things, it's also like, depending on the community that you're in, you giving them that information allows the community to grow at a much faster rate than if you just, kept it to yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a weird way to describe it too, right? Because I think like, some people, well, especially in this kind of world of content creation and things like that too, right? Like, it's not that I think people are selfish, it's that I think people are guarded, and for good reasons too, right? Because, a lot of content creation in today's thing, which I think it's more specific, and this is my personal opinion on it, to smaller communities where I find they're a lot more wholesome, a lot more better mannered, almost, I want to put it, than it is with a lot of like these higher content creators. And again, nothing against people who have like high followings or anything, but it's what I more find is that most of those high followings are content creators that specifically seem to revolve around drama. And with that, it's hard for you not to be guarded when you never know that when like somebody else who you might be talking to in that state could just be trying to like find stuff to utilize for their next content against you, kind of thing,
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. But like when you're at like this level, which I consider myself even like, like a small content creator, right? Like how much we're all like willing to help each other to get into a place where we all want to be, or assist with like certain things that we may struggle with. And it's weird to see, especially even coming from Twitch. Let's just use it as an example, because I'm sure it's the same with other platforms, or at least I hope. But where like a lot of like, content creators that I've met from Twitch, especially small people, it's the same thing, where they're all very much in that state of they like to assist with anything that they can, even if they don't know you, right? Like, and that's always, like I said, it's a gratifying feeling to be able to feel like you're part of that kind of community. It's like living out where I live, because I like to live in the middle, not quite in the middle of buttfuck nowhere, but like the neighboring like county to where I am is very much like that, where everybody kind of not really relies on one another, but the community assists with other people starting new things, and they help out different like heritage stuff and like all kinds of stuff. And it's like that same kind of mentality to kind of pull stuff back in. But people that we've known that like have grown and become massive and like big, like then they more become like a feared name than they do like initially part of the community again, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see that perspective of stuff too, right? And like how that affects people.
Yeah, that's always the just like the it's also just like it's a fun thing to, I don't know, like a lot of the ways that I think about things are very much like, I like the idea of watching something expand a lot and being a part of that when it starts small to then expand. And a part of it is like, one, it's just fascinating because it's like, if it's a community that I'm a part of, like I want them to have as much success as possible, but especially if it starts off small, then you kind of know most people within arm's reach. You just like, most of these people, or like the people who are considered big names within that community. Like I will just use an online community as like an example. And it's like, those people, and you might even have connections with those people. And then the community grows, and then that person continues to exponentially grow with the community, and then it makes its way to like the public eye. And then you're like, wow, look at all these people who know this person above all else in said community. Crazy that
that I met them before this happened, kind of thing.
Yeah, and not necessarily always in that way of like I knew them before they blew up kind of situation. Because if it's organic growth, they're going to remember the people who came along with them.
Yeah. Well, the people that supported them no matter where they were in that journey, right?
Yeah, exactly, that too. But it's just fun to... Like, again, it's just one of those things that just kind of feels nice. It's like, wow, I know this person. That's cool. Because nobody can deny that it's impressive to see, like, the outreach that some people can have and to know that, like, this person has this much influence and I've talked with them and I have,
Almost makes you giddy, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's just fun. And I like that.
Yeah. Oh, and that's the same thing with me. Like, I like that. It's a sense of community too, right? I think like really that's such a big thing with so many people, right? It's like feeling you're a part of something that can ultimately be something greater too. And it really adds for a lot, even coming from where I'm coming from, right? Like, like we've talked about it. I've done a lot of it. Like there's so many across the board things that I like trying and doing. And the people that you meet across from that is crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, like I wouldn't see myself being part of like a VTuber community at this point of like where I'm sitting at, or like meeting the people that I've met, right? Not that I've ever had a problem making friends, because like generally speaking, I've never had that problem.
Yeah, it's just like these are the kinds of groups that you don't typically associate with. So it's interesting that it's like when I started streaming, that version of me would not have ever believed that we would be here with these people.
Yeah, where I am.
Yeah.
Well, and like even just the people, I started to realize that maybe I discovered something that I enjoyed or started to like because of those people. And I think that's ultimately like those opportunities I wouldn't sell for the world. It's like the whole like it's priceless kind of like bullshit, that people always say, right? Like it's not really bullshit, but it's true, right? Because it's like, I wouldn't trade that stuff for anything, because I think it's not really that like the whole like I'm like a knowledge is power kind of like cheesy sounding ass, but it's like those moments and those experiences for me mean more to me than like any value could, because I really like it's gratifying for me to learn from that different kind of stuff. And like I said, just meet all different walks of people from different parts of anywhere and everywhere, raisings, games that put them together, or like content, whatever it may be. It's kind of the nice part of it, especially in like the field of what we do, is meeting like all those different kinds of people, right? Not everybody gets those opportunities, or some people just never are into going down that road, and maybe they'll never experience it, right? But
yeah, there's something to be said about like it's also just like progress is a gradual thing, and it's only when you look back over a long period of time that you realize how much has actually changed as a result. So like, when this isn't gonna make me sound old. This is just gonna make me sound kind of weird. Like I've technically been making YouTube videos for like 10 years. Not like anything before the last like 4 were any good, but they were there when I was a wee lad. But like
you did your effort to it, right?
Yeah.
You've seen it change too in time.
And like I was talking about this with somebody recently about the fact that like I still have I don't personally have any archivings of it, but like my friend who I would record them with back when me and him used to live like the next neighborhood over, he still has them up because he doesn't post things to his channel because that's not what he was doing. So I literally have videos from 9, 10, 11 years ago, or at least the context behind what was happening then while we were playing those. And it's fun to look at those and realize that 13-year-old me would never have assumed 13-year-old me would have never assumed that I would be doing any of the things that I'm doing right now, that I would have any of the numbers that I have right now on like a shallow end. But then like that version of me never would have assumed that because of a Minecraft YouTuber that I watched when I was a kid was streaming on Twitch, I discovered a friend who also was playing on that Minecraft server that he hosted that I was also playing on. Then through that, I find out that they also stream like I do. And then one day when I was streaming, or when they were streaming, I was in the stream watching, or I might have even been in their stream lurking while we were playing Minecraft together. And then they went and raided into either Babbitt or Maple while they were playing Stardew, because those guys know each other from playing Final Fantasy. And then through that, I get to talk with all of those people, and I get to like have interesting conversations and discussions with them on a show like this, getting to have the quote unquote job opportunity that I have of being an editor for Maple. And then through those people, getting to meet everybody else in the Something Stupid community, getting to have discussions with them, being a part of a team like we're on right now, like an Overwatch team for a competitive thing, being able to meet you and having you be the reason that I would get a passport to eventually end up traveling to a different country. Right.
Yeah. It's crazy. The timeline, eh?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like that's also just, yeah, that's why it's like I can personally say that like I would be okay with like having stuff explode and shoot through the roof, but I'm glad that it's been happening the way that it's been happening right now, where it hasn't made a massive impact on anything. Like it's a cool thing to look at and show off. But everything else that's happening is still very slow and gradual, and I get to meet people, and I get to talk with them, and I get to have good experiences with them, and I get to make mutual contacts and friendships and relationships through those people.
Yeah. It's and being, I think even where my standing is with a lot of stuff too, because like even before now, things like just even like a group community. I've been a part of like different ones before, but like nothing like this. And I think this for me has been like, something completely out of like left field in like the normal stuff that I would have done. And like I said, I would have never met somebody like yourself, or like, so many incredible artists that I've met over time from like just being with part of this community. And it all started from me just sitting there talking shit with people while I'm playing Escape from Tarkov, on fucking stream, to like now playing like all these other crazy games that we've done together and doing like these stream trains and like, being, partners with people like Maple and like Babs and like, Light and all these other people and all the different stuff that they do, and us creating friendships along the way with it, right? Even if things that I've met with people that have been mutual, even if you think of like Cactus and like Hawk and like people like them, where they already had their own communities and then pulled into everything with us as well, and that's just combined in more stuff, is crazy to see, the change of where it would have been, right? And like, no, I don't know if I'd ever have these opportunities to do this kind of stuff, but I'm glad that I've been here to experience those opportunities, right?
Yeah.
Would I have seen myself in the same position I am now? Not from where I fucking started, hell no. Right? But hey, listen, we all start somewhere, and I think it's good to reflect on the past with stuff and also see like where you want to prep yourself for the future with things too. And that's like, like where we've done stuff like this, right? And like where you find common grounds with other people on different stuff. So it's really great to have those experiences with that kind of thing, right? I'm rambling on about it at that point, but you know what I mean, right? So,
yeah.
But yeah, no. It's crazy. Cat, don't start. We already sneezed at the start before we started this today, and I don't need another cat hair up my nose. It's not how I wanted to end this.
No, I was actually going to ask. This is the thing I planned on asking Maple soon. Actually, this is weird because when I talked with her, she was like, when I end up going full time, I'll come back on the show. But then when I made that TikTok about how like my show just keeps bringing cursed vibes to people, she was like, well, now that I'm partner, I can come on the show. And I was like, that doesn't reflect what you said before. What the hell? I don't think it really matters in the grand scheme of things, but no, actually, it would kind of actually make a difference now that I think about it, because then you have all those extra hours just within one day to do stuff. Regardless, whatever. I was gonna ask her as well as yourself now, since you are on the team, is just like I was only kind of like half there while the announcement of the team size increasing happened. Like I literally was in somebody's stream, and then I went and I took a shower, and I came back, and there were like 15 characters on screen, and I was like, oh, I know what's happening.
Are you talking about the initial one when I was included, or when we did the second expansion?
Yeah, the second one. Because I already...
So you're talking about the next one.
Yeah, because I already basically know what happened with the first one, and it was very interesting. I was just curious. And I recognize the fact that like the people who were included with that were like people who are very much like very tightly knit within the community. Most of them also had their own communities, like you mentioned, and also they just have like close ties with a sizable portion of the people that were in the Something Stupid community before they joined. I was just kind of curious, like why the choice to make that expansion was done, and as well just like kind of what your thoughts were on the whole thing.
Yeah, well, like honestly, I was happy to see like more people come into it. I think like I have like It's not that I have mixed feelings with anybody specifically that's joined. I'm actually really happy with everybody that we do have on the team because we not only really get well together, but like we all cover different corners of the internet in not only content of what we do, but stuff we also play together. It's crazy to see all the options that we have with this kind of stuff. My personal opinion, just outside of the team, but teams as a whole, has always been kind of like in the middle, because sometimes there's pros and cons to doing stuff like this, right? But I think ultimately the goal that we have and what we've done since we've started and where we are now, because it's not like the community group exploded like fucking crazy, right? Is that, you know, you get all these wonderful people together to create a central community where we can hopefully also bring other people together to do stuff, right? Whether if it be things that we do together or just like people who get to meet new friends, that kind of thing, right? It was a process with it, because like I think like all of us really do talk, as you know, that we've gathered and picked up some people, and we've also lost some people in this process, right? And a lot of it is just due to the fact that, like, you know, we've lost people due to differences in opinions on stuff we wanted to do, or people who felt like it was necessary to step away from stuff, or if we felt it was necessary that maybe we just needed to separate those people as part of the group, right? Like, it's not like we just like exile people. It's something that we all talk about. And when we had, like, to give you a perspective, Cactus and Blackhawk were very well intertwined with a lot of stuff that Maple did. So they were just an easy pick for you know, Maple to vouch for, and for the rest of us to say they really become part of it, because they also became a part of the rest of our streams and what we did in the community, and they really pulled in that together. So that was just like it's happening, you know what I mean, right? It was the same thing with exactly, right. Like when we reached out to a few people we personally wanted to invite into it, because we thought they were really good content creators, and like people that we also all enjoyed seeing and stuff like that. So Neo was a great example of that, because I don't know how much of you watched of Neo in her content and what she does or what they do, right? But she, like, Clowntown is part, like, a community that she's built where it's all like clown VTubers and people who really all love clown stuff and a bunch of other things alongside that. And she's very laid back vibes and that kind of thing. And we all really enjoyed her content and eventually reached out to her to see if she would like to also join, because we just thought she'd be a phenomenal addition. Now, unfortunately, Neo has been going through a lot of personal stuff, so she hasn't been streaming the last bit.
Happens to the best of us. Happens to all of us.
It happens. And we told her the same thing, where we said, you know, like, the thing that's happened is that, like, you know, it's unfortunate of what it is, and we were gladly, like, here to support her up until she keeps coming back as well. Like, we had no problem with that. It was just terrible timing. You know what I mean? Right?
I mean, terrible timing. You can't avoid them. Like,
oh yeah, and you can't control that kind of stuff, right? And like, you know, like I said, we're a group, so like we were here to support and do what we can so that we can pull everything together. And you know, now that things are starting to come back a bit as well too, we're able to start doing some stuff again. We have some plans that are hopefully coming up soon. But you know, Chikara was another great example. Lucy was also another good example. Between both of them, like, I've personally known Chikara for a while now, and he found one of my streams one day, and then we would raid out to each other all the time. And I didn't know this, but he was also a very big Kasune fan, and I didn't know at all, because I, like, you know, at this time I barely even knew what they were outside of like what Maple had taught me about VTube and shit, right? And he like fell in love with Maple stuff and things like that, and just jumped into the community stuff so fast and really just became a part of and got along with everybody. Like, Chikaro's got a heart of gold, so I always appreciated him for that stuff too. So it was easy pick for him to get in there. And the same thing with Lucy. You know, Lucy, like, he can be awkward some days, I'm not gonna lie to you, but I love Lucy to death, because like him and I played a lot of great games together. You know, between him and Light and a lot of other people would all, like, he is such a big part of what we did in a community setting, and he was always around to greet new people, to play with new people. Like, he never had an issue, because he always just wanted to, you know, have an experience with somebody new or make new friends and stuff like that. And I think he just never really had the opportunity to have something like that before. So he just, again, was another great pick for us to pull into, because he really represents, like, a lot of like the welcoming party to a lot of the people that we have that pull into that kind of stuff, right? So really, like, honestly, the second expansion was like huge to not only expanding it from just the core group of us, but into something more and be able to expand more. Now, the downside of this is that a lot of us have an incredibly hard time scheduling everything together.
I couldn't even fucking imagine.
Different.
Oh my Lord.
I remember when we were like at the beginning, we kind of talked about like how I like to scheduleize thing. And I'm that kind of person as well, where like we all have different schedules, but I'll come up to the group with stuff and I'll be like, okay, listen, this is what we're starting to do. This is going to be the date. Either you can make it or you can't, because I can't schedule it outside of that, right? And it works actually a lot of times. And we've scheduled things like months ahead if we can, to try and make sure we can get everybody involved, right? Because we really do try and keep it as a team with that kind of sense. And we're all adults, right? Like, I think we understand that like some things that we won't all be able to do, and that's why we try and be flexible with a lot of stuff. And it really does help like add us into it. But I'd say like honestly, it made a big difference to what we do. And it really opened up a lot of avenues for a lot of people to meet the rest of us, and for our community to meet other people in that. And I think we're even still planning on expanding more, because obviously now that with like Maple hitting partner, an example, like we actually have the Something Stupid like Twitch stuff now.
Oh,
we talked about like if you didn't know about that, we all actually have an official team now, which is amazing. I swear to God,
it always felt like I saw that underneath the streams, but I didn't even realize that was like a prereq that it needs. So
you need somebody with partners. So we're an official team. It's no longer like, oh, hey, we're just a group of people. Like we're an actual
now it's like
team,
an officially recognized team by Twitch. It's easy for people to go in, and because what happens when you click this? You do that, and then you just pick the people that
we're all there.
Oh, that's so fucking cool.
Yeah, it was honestly, it was an exciting feeling to see, because like it was a huge congratulations to Maple more than anything, because like I said, she works her ass off. She really deserved it, and I've told her that from the beginning, because I made this joke a long time ago with it, that I was like, you should be the team captain, because at the end of the day, you're going to be the one who's going to hit like these great heights that a lot of us is going to take more time for if we want to reach that. And I was like, by the end of the year, you're going to hit partner. She didn't hit it by the end of the year, but she hit it in the March afterwards, so I still call that a winner in my books. Because I was like, it was close enough, right? But and then when we announced it, right, like she was like, well, now I can make the team for everybody, which really kind of got us all like super excited for it too, right? So but it really adds a lot, because now if we do want to expand it further, we can. And I think like a lot of it's like we do want to look at expanding stuff further. It's also finding people though that we think is going to be a good representation to who we are and like what we do.
Right.
And again, we're all very different people, but I think like our center to all of our morals and like what we all do, and like the I guess the kind of community we want to build, which is all like really inviting and like fair, and like just trying to build something, has been an ideal that we like to try and keep when we want people to come in for it, because we could add in just about anybody if we really wanted to, but I think that's something that we've discussed, that it's like something we really do want to produce as a whole, and try and keep that same median all the way through, regardless of who we bring in. So, but easier said than done, though. Like the potentials are always there, but it's hard, dude.
Yeah, it's like looking for a history and looking for like patterns of like this person is consistently behaving in certain ways that we think are acceptable or not acceptable or whatever.
It's like Carfaxing people. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But you never know, right? Like again, people are all going to be different, but I think like even though we are all so different in our own ways, we all have relatively same values into stuff, right? You can always have different content and everything else, but really expanding the group in the way that we did really opened up, like I said, more opportunities for different people and different corners of the internet, that really has added in some wild people over time. And people that I don't think I would ever even like see my stream, an example, or light streams, when he does stream, because he hasn't been in a long time, but stuff like that.
Complications
right?
happen.
So,
we
yeah. Well, we all, I think like the team has like it originally was something that I think was very Twitch oriented at first, but I think we've separated it off of Twitch too. A lot of it is, and we've talked about, adding in, we're like, well, what if we added people in from YouTube, or like somebody who specifically does like streaming on Kick, or like they do, I don't know, fucking Facebook, right? Like it doesn't really matter. I think it was like more of like, we wanted to develop that feeling that we can open it up so that we're getting people from everywhere instead of just one platform.
Yeah.
But and again, the difficult portion of doing all this is actually having people that we could do that with, that we all have those same ideals, but also that we can all get together every so often and also do stuff together, which is the hardest part when you keep expanding a team.
Yeah,
right?
literally.
But no, honestly, my personal opinion with is like, I love all the guys here, and like, I think it's just been like nothing but like a benefit to all of us in our own ways to have everybody come in. And we've had a lot of people who've been trying different things, doing different stuff. Some people who've kind of stopped streaming and more focused on, like, let's say the Discords or other things like that. And we've had some people grow and change with things like that. And I think it really kind of puts everything into retrospective, like where our community used to be when it was like sub 100 people to now like hitting over like 1,000 is been insanity. But it's that's, we got here for a reason, right? So but yeah, it's wild, dude. I don't know, maybe we'll pull you in one of these days too, we'll put DJ in there.
Okay, as soon as I asked that question, I was like, I really hope he doesn't think that I'm asking that from a place of like trying to sneak my way in or anything. I'm just curious because again, because I can personally admit to the fact that like I am not consistently in everybody's streams. For a lot of it is like they play games that I don't really care about, or they're streaming at hours that I can't be there, or simply the fact that I suck at watching Twitch streams when I'm doing other things, right? So that happens.
I feel you there.
But even like when I did see that announcement come through, I was like, you know what? I may not have necessarily consumed the streams of the people who were included prior to the fact, like all of them, obviously. I mean, like the main one that I still was consistently consuming prior to the merge, or I guess the main two were Chikara and Cactus, just because like that. Because Cactus streams at great times for me to just be at work and just have the stream open.
And watch her. Yeah, dude, same with me. That's how, like, I watched a lot of her content. But, like, stuff like, I know an example, like, you and me, like, we have the same schedule for a lot of stuff. So I know I would be streaming around the same time you would be streaming, right?
Yeah, if I was.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's what it turns into with a lot of people, right? And yeah, no, listen, I call out everybody on stuff like that because I know I could always make the joke, right? I like to do that to people anyways because it makes it more of a fun experience. But no, I always say like the opportunities there, like, like you've been a big part of a lot of the stuff that we do, regardless if you watch a lot of us or not, right? Because like you still communicate with things and you're relatively normal. And I say that in a good place because like I consider myself to be like a fucking weird person. Right? Like I think a lot, like we're all weirdos in our own way. But if I'm really calling somebody like a weirdo, like that is coming from not a good place. Like people like me, like even though I know I'm a weirdo in my own sense, right? I can still consider myself a relatively normal person in those morals, right? But there are people out there that, trust me, that I've chatted with, that I've gone through that conversation with, and it's like, listen, as nice as I can be, but respectfully,
you are
like,
certainly a character.
There is a certain range that we can handle and deal with, but it's whether if it's political reasons, whether it's just content reasons, whatever it may be, there's just some things where it's like, yeah, that can't happen. I'm sorry, but like it's just not a good fit. You got to pull on the HR PR fit and just be like, I'm sorry, I can't. Right? Like we're gonna have to let you go, partner.
Right, yeah. Like that's actually one of those things that I ironically could see being my biggest problematic trait. Isn't my political views, but it's the fact that I'm such a hard charging gunner for the things that I believe in. Like my TikToks seem to show up on your feed a disproportionate amount to other friends that you have on TikTok. So like you've seen the way that I feel about things, which is I'm like the reason that the job market is terrible because people are using AI as a means of sifting through your resumes, and also they're not paying you worth what your work is actually worth. And
yeah, but you're so right on that one, and that's because I completely agree with those videos.
But
that's a different story. But I know what you mean.
Yeah, but then there's stuff like that, and then there's like that video that I made where I was like, I don't like kids, but it's not kids' fault. It's the fact that most people don't know how to parent their kids worth a damn, so their kids end up being little bastards through no fault of their own. But I don't like that they behave that way. I've made videos.
No, you've got good points. I think like but see, you see it as like you're being like highly opinionated about something, but you have genuine facts to back up what you talk about.
Kind of,
and
or at
that's
least things
where
that
I
more
can
people
pull
can agree
you
with.
Yeah, well, even if it's in a personal opinion with that kind of stuff too, right? I think you still have a very viable like reasoning for why you feel the way that you feel. And that is different because there is people like yourself where I would say, you know what, even if you are strongly opinionated, you're allowed to be.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that, and that's not going to stop you from being with somebody like a team like that, because if they're stopping you because of that reason, God, they got to be stupid
Then they might have some
people.
bad identity politics.
Yeah. Oh, there might be some, like, maybe some, again, usually it's, I feel like 90% of the time it's political reasons of why it doesn't work out for the reason why it doesn't work out.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
like, political reasons are a very good reason why people don't like other people,
Yeah.
because especially right now, identity politics is a big thing, but also politics in the modern day are revolving around the well-being of minorities and the well-being of
and then,
people trying to make a fucking living, right?
yeah, and you know, people fight on people with illegitimate facts and all kinds of other stuff, and it just turns into like a pissing match. It's never like a debate. You know what I mean?
It's
like,
always it's attacking.
That's how I describe it. Like you debate. You don't argue. You debate, and that's the difference of it, right? And I think like it's a good thing, because personal preference in that kind of state is that like then we can have a conversation rather than somebody who's just yelling and screaming at me and then resorting to everything other than
listening,
the reasoning for why it's there. And potentially, like I talk with Light about this, because Light's phenomenal if you ever have some good conversations with him about this kind of stuff too.
I really should.
Where it's, you know, you can be opinionated about something, but don't come into an argument without the expectation that that person may change your mind.
Yeah.
Because at that point, it's just an argument. Because if you're not willing to open up yourself to the idea that, you know, something can change you, then, you know, you're not going to change ever. Then you're just, again, everything's just going to be a fight. You're probably not going to get along here, right?
Yeah,
but
exactly.
if you come into it with the argument of like, I might learn something from this, or it might even just change your opinion that you originally had, even if it's still relatively the same, it can make a difference to, you know, again, having a debate with somebody rather than just an argument.
Yeah, and going into the conversation with the idea that like what they say to you may not change your opinion, but can at least provide nuance to the way that you think about the situation. Is the way that I think about it.
Well, like, and if I give you an idea with it too, like, a lot of like the guys actually, like between myself, Light, Love can be strong opinionated. He's very passionate at what he does though. Like, so I think he's got good reasoning behind it. But I like to consider Light and myself to probably be two of the most even leveled people. Like we are rocks in that kind of sense.
Yeah, very
like,
much just fine with listening to either side.
Like I can also be super, super strict about things, because I do have some things that I will not budge on. And there is very specific reasons for some of those reasons, right? But in most of the stuff of what I do and what I per se, I wouldn't call it policing, because I always feel like saying policing is like a bad way of putting it. But more of being like a mediator in some stuff.
Yeah.
I like to take both sides of something and look at it the most logical sense possible without letting my emotions or my own personal opinions affect the way that I, you know, ultimately, you know, end with my result of what should happen, right?
Yeah.
And I think that ultimately is what helps us with settling things that need to be settled, right? So, but like, again, like, you know, like I can be opinionated on stuff, and I do have my stuff that I enjoy about, but like when it comes down to the serious tax of things, and like, you know, when I'm like actually being a moderator for the things that I do, like I don't bullshit, dude. I'm also pretty fucking ruthless about some things if it's really drawing those lines. But like, again, if I come into something, especially if it's something that's gonna be like that, it's like, okay, why did this happen? Where's the proof, right? Who's accusing this of it? Is it somebody that's done this before? Like there's so many things that come into it. And I think like emotionally maturing into that kind of stuff is what ultimately helps you, especially in a team setting with that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because you can have, it's the dynamic of that stuff, right? Which is why, like I said, you know, even if you did have strong opinions, I wouldn't even see you being an issue.
Right,
Because
yeah.
I think it's like, listen, like I said, there's normal people out there, which is like you and me, and then there's the real fucking weirdos out there, man, that like, they're like, those opinions of like some stuff are like way far out into obscurity, that are just, again, ready to start fights or ready to, like, you know, fight on something that they just should not be fighting on.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah, I think ultimately the point that I was trying to make with that was more like it's coming from like a weird place. It was more like I feel like one of the only quote unquote red flags that would come out of like a hypothetical situation like this is concerning those people that say stuff like I'm here to watch a Twitch stream to keep me entertained. I don't have time to deal with your political rambling bullshit. So, like, me being heavily opinionated on things doesn't matter to me, because, like, especially because of the fact that my opinions are relating to political things. Like, I'm not surprised they're relating to political things because I took 3 years of speech and debate. I very much had to keep up with these kinds of things. And I've been one of those people that says,
so you're
like,
aware with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm aware of what's going on, and very much like I want to try and be like, me being opinionated means that I will become passionate about something. Me being passionate about something means that I will get probably mad about something. And me being mad about something means that will give me the drive that I need to go and say something where other people won't. So I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with any of that. I think it's more so that, like, some people might observe that and look at that and go, keep your politics out of my damn VTuber streams. Right?
Yeah. I see what you mean with it. Yeah.
But
yeah, no. You know what? That's the thing with it too, right? Again, something that, like, I think, yeah, you know, it becomes almost like a personal thing at that point, right?
Yeah.
But that's like part of the reason of being in a team too, right? Like, I think that's like one of the things is communication is like so huge, right? I think like you said, right? Like, people are all also very much entitled to the way that they want to do things and think and like process their own stuff, right? But when it comes with the team side of it, like, because even with things that I've had like a major problem with, as much as I've wanted to just been like, all right, let's just get this fucking guy out of here, throw him out of the bar kind of scenario. It's you have to like pull those people aside and pull apart the team that's there to be like, okay, like what happened? Like, what can we do? What's this? Like, you know, does this person need to go? Right.
Right. Yeah.
And it's interesting to pull into that kind of thing because, like, I'm not really like debate. Like, I'm the kind of person that, like, listen, I just want to have a good time, and that's all I really care about.
Yeah, just like
right?
diffuse the situation and try to understand what happened.
Well, even if I diffuse it, right? Like, it's not even that. It's more being like, all right, who's fucking with my vibe? Because now that you've done this,
I can feel
I'm not
my
a happy
vibe
camper.
meter is off. Which one of you fuckers didn't?
Whoever's fucking with the vibe needs to talking to kind of thing, right? So, but it's added to a really good thing. So we always laugh about it, right? Because I've said this too, since we've started a team, and when I came into it and I talked about saying like you know, I'll gladly like moderate for things. Oh,
Yeah.
it's the dog. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I lost my train of thought because I'm like hearing the dog dream, and I'm like, is somebody fucking dying outside or something?
I heard
it's him. He's dreaming. Good little immersion break. But no, when I moderate with stuff, dude, like, I told him, I'm like, listen, I'll moderate with an iron fist, but like, I'm going to do it with the proof and facts of stuff, and the things that I'm not okay with, I need us to all understand, like, you know, or that we all not okay with this or something. Because if I need to take action to something like this, I need to know that I'm not putting myself in trouble. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's getting all of your duck. I was about to say getting all your ducks in a row. That sounds like corporate slang, and I hate it. But the point is,
but you're so right, though.
Yeah, literally,
you're so
just
right. It's weird
making
because
sure everything's
it's weird
correct
because
before dealing out
corporate, like,
judgment.
the corporate slang stuff is what's fucked you up with that, right? But like, in the reality of it, without it being corporate, yes, that's actually the best way to put it. You know, so. You said hey. Huh? Oh yeah, no, I'm sorry. Listen, we are designated yappers, so we talk to each other a lot. We just keep bouncing ideas.
I don't know what to tell you.
Keep bouncing ideas. I'm gonna fall asleep before you come
Oh, okay, that's fine. And then, don't worry about it.
I won't worry about it. You do your thing, man.
Yeah, but no, you know, I think, like, on like a note with that too is like, you know, there's so much stuff that I know can probably change in the future here, and you know, where everybody's kind of sitting out in their positions right now. You know, there's a lot of stuff that I can see that could happen in the future. There's a lot of stuff that might not happen, you know? You know, we're all changing in different things. Like, I've gotten to now meet, you know, most of these homies, because, you know, they're all my homies at this point, IRL, and we've done barbecues together, and like, we've met all of like our family members and things like that. So it's like, you know, coming from it just being like an online thing too, to, well, most of us are all fucking Canadian too, right? It's to turning it into like an actual like meeting up and like doing things together and stuff like that has really surpassed, you know, what I think a lot of standard stuff is for teams. Because like, there's some people that take a lot of this stuff on a business perspective specifically, so, you know, like, they don't get those opportunities to do that. But we've we've had that aspect of it, but we've also been able to produce some really like great friendships in the process of it. You know?
I was gonna say,
like I said,
we'll
like,
just call it a business trip at that point.
yeah, really. Oh,
This is
listen.
a
The amount of
business
jokes we
expense. I
make
have
at
to write it off on my taxes on my what the hell is like the self-employment entrepreneur tax form bullshit.
it's the same thing. It's basically write-offs, dude.
Yeah.
That's what it all is. Well, we've laughed about this for such a long time now too, because ever since like we Maple hit partner, we're like, oh, is that the famous streamer Maple_Chicken, right? And like we keep talking about like Maple Chicken Incorporated and stuff like that, right?
It's like is that her full legal government name?
I know, right? We've had some really great conversations about stuff like that. Because I'm like, listen, one of these days when the Maple Chicken Incorporation becomes like a big office building, I want us to have one of those big fucking round tables, and all the times that we do moderating stuff, we all got to stand around that table and talk it out.
That's a power move.
Oh, dude, it's funny. It's funny with this kind of stuff. So, but we have good jokes around it all around. So, like, I think like, out of all the people that I think I've met over the internet, it's and to think about years ago when my parents were like, "Oh, don't meet people over the internet," where I am now
Too
with so many
bad.
people is holy shit, what a difference, dude.
Yeah.
Look at me now, Ma.
Yeah, I mean, I think about that same kind. I don't think my parents ever really. I mean, they were a little bit concerned about that kind of thing, but significantly less because the internet had at least matured a little bit by that point where I even had the agency to do that. But it's literally, it's literally like half of my friends are online friends, but I will still make efforts to go and see them because they're only one state over, most of them. So like,
Lucky you.
I just right, yeah, it makes it so convenient because I can either drive 9 hours if I hate myself, or I can spend a little bit of money and be there in 2 hours.
Yeah. Well, at least you can take the local flights with it. I even say where like I am, like most of my friends now are over the internet because I decided to move 2.5 hours away from my hometown, and everybody else that I know live either that far or an example like where Maple was. I think my drive was almost like 5.5, 6 hours. So it was a drive, but hey, it was worth doing it. And, we got to meet who we got to meet. And sometimes we meet right in the middle and it's not too bad for everyone. But again, I also kind of live in the middle of buttfuck nowhere compared to the rest of these people. Actually, I'm not too far from where Poe is. I'm closer. Poe is closer to me than I think these other guys are. But I'm like super close to, I wouldn't say super close, but I'm closer to Quebec than most of these guys. So it's interesting with that kind of perspective of it. So East Coast, if you don't know the geography of that stuff, by the way. So, yeah, no, like, yeah, it's funny to meet that. I've actually talked with Lucy about this because, and again, with me not doxing people, I know a couple people who live in Jersey, right? So, like, Jersey as a state is pretty big, right? And, like, New York and that kind of region.
Yeah.
And I've looked up kind of relatively where, let's say, like, Babs lives or Lucy lives or my buddy Britt lives. And these are all people that I play games with and met over the internet. And I'm like, dude, you guys are, like, an 8-hour drive from me. Like, it is really not far.
Yeah.
Like, I could just get across the border one of these days and just come meet you fuckers and just like call it, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
So it's nice to kind of like think of the ideas of stuff like that, and I plan to actually do some of that stuff here in the future because that's one of the things I got to do is actually get my passport.
Yeah.
And meet.
We're
with
in the
some of these
same
people,
boat.
but- Yeah, it's been like a dream for some of the stuff that I wanted to do because like hell, even like conversations I've had with Babs, an example, because Babs and I have connected in our own kind of way with stuff, and especially like we've been making this joke recently because we talk about food all the time. So I don't know if you've ever seen those memes where they do have you seen like the Dora the Explorer, the backpack meme, but it's big back instead?
What the fuck? No.
Oh, I'll have to send it to you. It's basically the same concept of like the original meme was like this dude who's walking into a store and he's shoving everything in his backpack, and like the caption was like, when grocery store prices keep going up, and it's just Dora the Explorer going backpack, backpack, and he's just stealing everything.
Yeah, okay,
right?
I hear you. Yeah.
Somebody made a version of that, but they called it Big Back, where it's just like a guy singing about food and shit like that instead. And like Babs and I joke about that stuff because I'm like, every time we fucking talking about something, it's just like that song comes in my brain. But we said if we've ever met up or something, it's like, oh, we'd fucking like cook for like each other and our spouses and stuff, and like show each other around the area and that kind of shit. And I'm like, damn, we're all like fucking like, if only we all lived so much closer, the difference it could have
within
made
a
be
reasonable
like,
distance.
It's always funny how you meet people with stuff like that and they end up living across the fucking world from where you are. Like,
yeah, I actually found it interesting of the inverse effect, where like again, like the relationship that I developed with Kirby was through this Minecraft YouTuber, and we did all this stuff, only to find out that me and them actually only live 90 minutes from each other, right?
That is crazy.
Yeah,
dude.
and then we found a guy. We met a person who makes a little bit of music on his own. That I listen to, and he makes these really weird, like LSD trippy type videos, and it's really impressive stuff. He made a video for Kirby about their playthrough of Layer 7, which I think got like 10,000 views on YouTube or something. So shouts out to Skeed if you hear this, which you probably won't because I don't know where the hell you're at. We found out that I think he lives somewhere in the middle between both of us. We're like, huh? Oh, it's sick. Huh.
That's wild, though, eh?
So
it's crazy how shit like that happens with people, dude, man.
Yeah.
Small world. And sometimes way too big.
Yeah, I think I said something once that was like, the world is both way too small and way too big, so it somehow ends up evening out to be about the size you expect it to be.
Yeah, it's all flat, right?
I never have to be concerned about my opinions getting me banned from a team ever again. This motherfucker is a flat earther. Get him.
Oh, man. God. Yeah, that humor's good. Trust me, I haven't pulled out dark humor yet. That's usually what I save for those off-stream days. Those are... If you ever experience those, you'll understand what I mean. You can quote me on that for this. You'll always have the sound recording for it. So... Oh, man.
But... Yeah. Yeah, it's a...
Oh, shit. Yo, dude, listen, like, honestly, I even, like, pull through. Fuck, I had my list, and, like, we, like, chunked through that pretty quick, dude.
That's impressive.
Not too bad.
2 hours?
Yeah, it was, you know. We did this last time, didn't we? Where we were like, yeah, it's going to be, like, an hour, and then we get talking on shit, and I think you and I are both the same. We just ramble. We get talking about stuff we like, and then it just doesn't stop.
Yeah, it's long. It's a long walk for a short glass of water is usually what happens in these situations. Long story to ultimately get to, like, a 5-sentence point.
Yeah. Are you sure you don't have just heavily undiagnosed ADHD like I do?
Oh, there's like, I mean, I know I do for like a fact. Like I don't know. The signs have always kind of been there, and one of those things is probably constantly jumping back and forth. Like one of those things is probably dabbling in as many things as I've attempted to do: YouTubing, making Twitch streams, like doing weekly uploads of videos. More specifically, I suppose. Trying to make music, trying to work on art before I realized that I don't actually know what I would want. Here's the thing. I tried getting into art once, and I was like, I like the idea of having a finished product that looks really cool, but I don't actually know what kinds of things I would want to draw, and so until I figure that out, I'm not going to bother. Like, I need to actually have like a vision of something that I want to start first before doing anything, but it's, you know, like doing that, trying to write a book at some point, trying to actually turn the bones and the story pieces of that book into a tabletop RPG game through a guy that I met, which ultimately also ended up falling through. Fucking what else? I have a guitar behind me that I have yet to fully get into because I still need to understand how to play this piano that I have to try and help me be better at making music. Like just having all of those things, I'm like, that's the sign of the ADHD.
No, yeah, hobby skipping. But hey, you know what? Maybe one day we'll figure it out. Maybe we won't.
Yeah, I mean,
who knows?
We're getting there a little. I mean, like the figuring out of it is trimming the fat on things you don't want to do. Like that's why I stopped streaming. That's why I stopped writing. That's why I stopped worrying about the freelance writing. That's why I haven't been nearly as concerned about like writing a book or anything. That's why you stopped doing the TikToks. It's like this stuff doesn't serve me. It's not really worth putting my creative effort into it until I can figure out how to do the things that I already enjoy doing a lot more with less effort. Is the big thing that I learned.
Something more that I can invest that energy into that I feel like I'm getting what I'm looking for out of it, whether if it's just my own personal satisfaction or the skills that I need to learn, whatever it may be, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But, you know, in time, right? I know. It's, like I said, you know, one of those things that I know I'm going to be relearning back into is editing and getting off the shit-ass CapCut app. You know, nothing against people who use CapCut, but I just personally don't like it any longer, so...
But yeah, ultimately, honestly, that whole joke you were making where you were like, where I said I was like, this will probably be like an hour and a half, is because that's how it started. Because that was where I was still trying to get my space in the place about like figuring out like what I want to do for people and like how the shows are structured and whatever. And then literally like the episode that I did with you and then an episode that I did with another guy probably shortly prior to the fact. That was where I was like, okay, this is where I can really get down into the nitty gritty. And so like, I don't give a shit how long these are anymore. The next episode I do with somebody could be 4 hours and they'd probably be like, yeah, this is what I expected. And I'm like, okay. So at this point I'm like, yeah, I'll just leave it be.
Yeah. That's the way that it works, dude. Sometimes you got to let it happen naturally and just kind of go through it. And then other times just slow and steady or methodical and, asked out. I guess that's why shows like, Fallon Show and all that other stuff work out, right? They give them that time. They're like, all right, let's cram all this content in there as much as we can, And there's other shows that are just like, fuck it, let's just talk. Backyard Talk. I don't know if you ever watched those guys before or listened to their stuff. I love them. They're great. What is they actually called?
Yes, I don't know.
It's the
I was like, Backyard Talk sounds kind of like that. That sounds like a kind of a cool name.
No,
for a
Basement Talk?
Basement
I can't
Yard?
remember. Thank you.
Yeah.
I knew I was close, all right? It wasn't quite Starbucks. It was like Starbix, all right? Like, it was close.
What's the Simpsons knockoff version of Starbucks? Hold on. They had to have done something, right?
That's a good question.
Let me Google it.
Oh, man.
When I Google it, it seems to not pull what I'm thinking. Oh, no. I think they literally did just call it Starbucks in The Simpsons. Very interesting.
They actually got away with that?
I guess,
No
yeah.
way.
That's
Oh my god, they did.
weird.
No way. It's crazy to think. Oh, they called multiple things Starbucks.
Yeah, that explains it. I mean, I know that
They were
like
really pushing it.
in one of the earlier seasons of the show, they just straight up dropped name dropped Arby's, just like their government biblical name.
Yeah.
So I'm like they can get away with certain things. Starbucks probably just doesn't give a shit. I guess I don't know.
They don't care. They're like, listen, it's just like free advertising. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for The Simpsons, the biggest fucking show of that time. Yeah, like I'm not surprised. But
Oh man, it's funny how these days that wouldn't even matter. They'd be like, biggest show of all time. We could sue them and make more money. It's like, oh my
it's
god,
like
dude.
you bastards.
Yeah.
Hold on, what was the point I was trying to make? I don't remember. I wasn't making a point. You were just talking about Basement Yard, and then you said Starbix, and I thought that sounded really funny.
Starbucks. We were trying to figure out what the name was for it. We couldn't think of it. What the alternate was. God.
Either way.
Here we are. Look at us.
Look at us.
Look at how far we've gotten.
But yeah, either way. I mean, yeah. If that's everything that you have, then I think the only thing I have left is just like I'm trying to be better about it, about not being as weird about it. But it's like you're very intimately aware of the things that I do, so it's like if you do truly want help with any of those things, like I'm down to teach you anytime, and like vice versa. If I see something that you're doing and I'm like, hey, spill the beans, and you're like, okay, like I'm like, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, me and the boys at 3 a.m. with a can of beans, just ready to go.
goddamn-
Yeah, listen, anytime. I reach out to a lot of people when it comes to that kind of stuff too. So, and yeah, the same thing applies with me. I don't think it's really weird because I think if people understand or if they consider what knowledge that I have to be something that is going to ultimately help them, I say, like, just ask me. It's funny to actually to pull back, which I think was supposed to be my moral originally when I was talking about modding for the team, and I never ended up getting to that point, was I think there's been people who have inherently, and not your case specifically, but that have been afraid to ask me things.
Right, yeah,
and I think a lot of it is because of my demeanor and the way that I produce myself, man, because I'm at the point in my life where I'm confident in the things that I do and the things that I like to learn, but I also don't give a shit about a lot of stuff anymore. And I think a lot of people have recognized that, and it makes them fearful to ask me things. And I'm like, don't, because if you're never gonna know if you don't shoot your shot, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
But no, anytime. Like, that's, again, when this whole conversation came about, I was thinking about it, and I was like, fuck, I haven't talked to DJ in a while. I was like, hey, you know what? We should do our talk again. And it was just very much agreed. Shake hands, set a date, and here we are.
Yeah, literally.
Like, it's just that easy.
Yeah, I thought about this the other day. I was like, you're one of the few people that like I could probably very consistently just like reach out to, like almost annoyingly consistently reach out to, and just find random bullshit to talk about.
Oh,
and like you everybody has those things where they think about it and they're like, that's kind of funny. They entertain the idea for a second and then immediately realize that, like, no, that doesn't really, it's not as simple as you're immediately making it out to be. But I was like, because I've done this thing where it's like I used to have a weekly podcast that was then rebranded to be more gaming oriented so that it didn't feel as much of a drain to do. And then even doing the gaming thing, I was like, having to talk about these kinds of things, like having, like, going in week by week somehow felt more obnoxious. But if I have, that's kind of why I started the podcast that I have now, because I'm like the only constant in any of those is that I know them for something and I want to talk with them about it. But I was like, Spooky's one of those people that, like, I could very almost annoyingly consistently talk with him about these kinds of things. I was like, what if I ran a show with him? And then I was like, no, that wouldn't make sense, because that's not how that works. But
well, we could find a lot of we're complex people, man. We like to talk about shit. If there's something, we could probably figure it out about it.
Yeah,
That's the beauty of it.
You'd be surprised what could come up.
Oh yeah, dude. That's why I like having those. That's what I mean, man. Those natural conversations, and then you have like one of those like spark moments where you're like, you know this? No way! And then all of a sudden it just turns into a whole other thing, right? It's crazy sometimes what you can find out with people. I think it's finding the right people to do that with.
Yeah.
Like I said, man, that vibe, that changes a lot of things in people, dude. So.
Yeah. But yeah. Either way, yeah, I've explained everything that I was trying to properly explain. So that also goes for the people in the audience listening. Is like, if you're very aware of what I do and like you have some way to contact me in like a reasonable sense, like don't be afraid to like reach out and ask about things. Like people do that in the YouTube comments sometimes, which is funny. But it's like if you want to hop in the server that we have, or like I'm part of the Something Stupid community server. So even though I don't check it ever because I suck at keeping up with community servers, if you have a question and you want to tag me and ask me about it, or you find me and you DM and you want to ask me about it, that's cool. Go ahead. Just don't sound like a bot when you start your conversation, or I'm going to report you to the mods and you might get unfairly banned.
Don't ask me how long I've been streaming.
Don't ask me if I'm a streamer, because I will get you unfairly banned.
Oh, man.
But I know there's that. But yeah, I guess on the note of the community Discord, it's like obviously that's a place where people can find you. You know, being one member of the council, I suppose. But it's like, where else can they find you?
Well, as we know, outside of the Something Stupid server, I also have my own Discord that I've been running for years as well, where it's just for more personal stuff, you know, people that I personally hang out and chat with all the time. Yeah, I still have TikTok, you know, up until, you know, that thing eventually dies, which I'm sure it will at some point, but I don't know. I guess we'll see. You can also find me on YouTube, which I have exactly probably like 3 followers, because I haven't posted really much of anything there and I don't promote it, but hey, now you know. But that's about it. And my Twitch, which is exactly how it sounds. Spookyshine, twitch.tv/spookydookie. Here we are.
Someone's going to Google Spooky Dookie and be like, this is not, I don't think.
Please do not. It's Spookyshine, I promise you. But no, that's generally where you'll find me every week. I'm super consistent. It probably won't be a day that you don't find me, because honestly, when's the last time that I've taken a week off? When's the last time you've taken a week off?
The last time I took a week off was when I was at that trip to see my friends over the summer.
Oh,
and it was weird because I thought that even though some of the people that like I'm in their streams a little more consistently, but like not consistently enough. And I came back into those streams and like I think you were like the you were like the presence felt off. You were like you weren't there, and I was like, what?
The vibes fell off, bro. Listen, I notice things, and as I've told a lot of people, is that the amount of tabs that I actually keep on people subconsciously versus what people think that I don't always do, like I don't always pay attention, is quite surprising. I almost have like 5 to 15 tabs open of different streams all the time. I subconsciously keep an eye on a lot of people with stuff. As much as they don't always hear or see from me, trust me, I'm there. There isn't a place that I haven't been, that's for sure. Always watching, Wazowski. Always watching.
But, yeah, that was the last time that I took a week off. And then before that, I think it was like a 9-month break because I wasn't working on making any videos and I wasn't streaming and I didn't have anybody who I was editing for. So the next time you'll see me taking a week off is if Maple takes a week off. But given the fact that she just did that, I don't think that's happening for like another year at minimum.
Yeah. That was the time that I saw her, so good luck, sir.
Yeah.
We'll have to see it again.
Yeah. Yeah, on that note, yeah, I guess if anybody wants to see where I'm at, it's mostly kind of the same place. You could technically follow me on Twitch for like the one-off situations where I'm streaming, like preparing for this tournament, or
a Deep Rock. You still play it every so often.
I don't play it unless my friend who has like 2,000 hours in the game plays it, mostly because he's like one of the only other people who wants to play it, and I'm so bad at the game that like playing it is kind of tilting for me sometimes.
Well, you guys play on harder difficulties though, don't you?
Yeah, but like you'd think that for me having
so
a couple hundred hours on that game, I wouldn't suck ass as much. How many hours do I have? 265. You'd think I wouldn't be as ass at the game as I am, but I still am. So my thought process is I might actually stream the practice matches. Like I think Maple's doing that right now. She's literally streaming with Jakara practicing for the tournament. So I probably should do that whenever I'm practicing with them. That's what I'll be doing. But
that's their plan, dude.
Yeah. But Twitch isn't the place to find me. The places to find me are Apple Music, Spotify, obviously this podcast thing if you want to hear other podcasts that I'm doing. I don't know what I'm trying to do right now. There's a lot of people who I really like what they do, and I would like to be in consistent contact with them because I think it's cool, but I might be, what's the word? Like over-representing my ability to be able to do that kind of thing because like they work on a different echelon as me and whatever. But either way, those are my plans. But then there's the YouTube, which is not the most prevalent place technically, but where you'll find my better content. Actually, I guess ironically enough, the places you'll probably see me in most would be like the Twitch streams of the people mentioned in this episode via the Something Stupid community. So
generally, that's where we see you. You're not wrong.
Yeah. So if you know Spooky consistently, you'll probably know a lot of other people who he is, people who he is also team members with, and they stream, and I'll probably be there with a couple of them, and you'll see me talking in there, and then you can bug me and ask me why I haven't uploaded a video in 2 months, and I go, making videos is hard, man.
And then that'll be the end.
And then that'll be the end. Yeah, and that'll be the end of it. And then you'll leave that conversation being like, this guy's an asshole, and I'll be like, no.
Let it go. Let me do my thing.
Yeah, let me do my thing. But yeah, on that note, this has been a great conversation. I'll reach out to you anytime I feel like bugging you. You can reach out to me anytime.
Listen, I'm just saying, like, we'll be the break in the curse. That's how we'll do this, We'll make it happen.
Yeah.
And, listen, like, anytime we got chat, like, I'm here. I'm open. Yeah. Like, if listen, I'm busy, but I make time for people.
Busy but consistent.
Especially if I enjoy what I do. Exactly. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. So it's been a pleasure talking with you. Everybody knows where to. There's a goddamn motorcycle out there. Shut up.
I fucking heard it too.
Yeah, I got neighbors who like.
You ruffians! Turn your motorized vehicles down.
This guy's probably twice my age, if I had to guess. That's not quite true. He's definitely old enough that he very well could have a kid my age. As ridiculous as that sounds.
He's got to at least be missing the top of his hair, and he's rocking a goatee with black sunglasses. Maybe a helmet.